are at the net. And welcome, friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Shabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right, thanks to our At the Net podcast girl, that is Margot Carter, for that Boomer Sooner introduction. It's Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner. She's from Tennessee, but she speaks the Queen's English.
But she likes to say Boomer Sooner,
and
too.
She does. Right. And we'll learn why in about 10 seconds. Tell us about it, Craig.
Well, welcome, fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1. See, it's always Season 1, isn't it?
It's going to be Season 1 till we are dead.
In perpetuity.
That's it.
That's a big word. Perpetuity for somebody from Oklahoma. This is episode 81 of At the Net podcast with you are AJC, right?
That's me, and you are Craig Bell, as we affectionately know you as CB1.
And we are talking the great game of tennis as it seems to us. Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be Darian D. McBrayer and Dave the Brain, who I just spoke with from back of the house all the way from Maryland. It's amazing that things work, like this.
It's a big house, and the back of our house is 2,000 miles east of here.
That's right, yeah. So, and we're live tonight, and not Memorex, right?
Not at all. We're real deal, and so is our guest, man. I'm excited to talk to this guy.
We'll get in just in a second. Also, be sure to check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox. Had to take a breath there. Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, and YouTube. Basically, all the important communication sites that kids find popular today, right?
That's it.
Yep. And ladies, if you would like to read the opening intro like the great Margot Carter and speak the Queen's English, do you think that everybody should speak the Queen's?
We even like a foreign accent sometimes. Yeah, we like. We've had a lot of Slavic. We got to go Spanish one of these days. Maybe Chinese, Japanese one day too. Mm-hmm. Truly a world sport. This is. It is.
It is. Well, our guest tonight is one of the Boomer Sooners. He. From Plano, Texas, went to Boomer Sooner, came back, and lives here now in, I think, around Prosper, somewhere up north. Maybe Prosper. Is that right? He's shaking his head. So yeah, there we go. So he's a fan of Boomer Sooner, and that would be the great coach Phil Farmer. Phil, how you doing there, buddy? It's good to see you.
Guys. Thanks for having me on, man. Great to see both of you, for sure.
You too, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah, Phil's one of our favorite tennis pros around town. We see him at quite a few functions and events, and so he's I don't know why it's taken us 81 episodes to finally get him on here. We should have been like number one. You should have been number one.
He could have been first or second.
Oh
yes,
yeah, no. Well, it's his schedule. He's so popular.
He travels the world. I mean, this guy. We're going to get to that in the first set. Is where this guy has been. You mentioned. Here in Texas, then Oklahoma University. But what about like all 4 slams, Davis Cup? We're going to get to talk about all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, he's worldly in the world of the great game right there is Coach Phil Farmer. Are there anything really left to do for you, I think, in the game of tennis? I think you pretty much climbed Mount Everest of tennis. I don't know what's left for you to do, but you've coached on tour. You've been a player. You grew up here locally in Plano, played some high school tennis around Plano East. Really good player, and yourself in your own right. And then, coach players on the tour. I mean, just a big life. You've been to all the slams, all the tournaments. I mean, you've been to every one of them, I'm sure. And we're going to get into that in the third set and see which one you like the best. We're going to put you on the spot and see which one's your favorite. But pretty much you give back to the community. You're involved in all sorts of charitable events. I don't know if there's anything left for you to do. There's nothing left to conquer.
A little known fact, because we're definitely getting to Davis Cup and ATP Masters Cup and all that stuff, Bryan Brothers. But what a lot of people don't know is one of my absolute favorite juniors locally was a kid named Christopher Bell, his son, and Philip coached him.
Yes. I know. Everybody. I mean,
that's the deal.
Right.
That's all you had to say.
I'm too old for him to coach me, so he didn't want to coach old man tennis. He doesn't
you guys know, I'll coach anybody, and maybe start listing off some of those names, and from juniors to TCD ladies to men to college rookies that are trying to go pro to pro players at every level, literally from $10,000 futures to challengers, to Grand Slams, to Olympics. Yeah. And I've been very blessed and fortunate to be with some amazing players of all levels, and men and women. And learned from every one of them as hopefully they learned something from me. And it's been a fun ride. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, you've been great for the tennis community locally, nationally, internationally. Well, one quick question though: how many touchdowns have you scored in flag football? I know you're a flag football fan.
It's been a while, but I think my best was 3 in one game.
Oh my goodness!
Holy cow, that's flag too. That's
right.
Great.
That's flag, and so now it's kickball league, softball, over 40 softball, and now I'm definitely in, as you guys know, major into pickleball.
Yes. We enjoyed some time with Philip one night at a pickleball event.
Yes.
That was a blast.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a big pickle. He's a big deal.
He's a big deal.
He's a big deal in the world of tennis and pickleball. I can see you dominating, all the players in pickleball also, too.
He's even a very, very emotional coach in pickleball, from what I've seen.
He throws the paddle down and, just kind of gets out there.
We're right here, boys. You know that.
Love it, man.
Are you going to coach Oscar up, Big O? Can you coach him up?
Oscar and I, he's my doubles partner in pickleball. He's amazing. He's got incredible feel up there around the kitchen area, and so we paired up for the tournament in McKinney about 6 months ago and got second place. And we had only been playing, I think, a couple, maybe 6 or 8 weeks at that time. So we were pretty pleased. It's always tough to lose, but we to get second place, there's some good teams in there. And Helen Wilhelm and Kim Forsyth have been coaching us and kind of giving us here's the paddles and here's what you use and here's the shots. And so it's been a lot of fun. We got a great group with Andrew Painter and Oscar and Dane and those guys there at the Lakes Tennis Academy. So it's been a lot of fun, and got to come over to Bentry there and play some with you guys.
Yeah. And for the folks at home, he mentioned Andrew Painter, Dane Webb. These are all remarkable pro players from
Tommy Ho,
another remarkable pro player.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good grief, man! Coaches.
So we got a great group. Rick Warren, my buddy from OU, that's an attorney and lives down in South Lake, and so we've got a pretty good crew that we rotate around and play. So
tremendous.
No kidding, man. Yeah. You guys are just big deals.
Well, let's step it back to junior tennis, and you got to tell us how you got started in the great game, and then maybe take that through to playing Division I college tennis at Oklahoma.
Yeah, pretty crazy, to grow up in the way I did, which I'll explain in a second, and then now to coach, where it's a lot more individual sports, isolated. Now it's, hey, try to narrow your sports down fairly early. I still encourage a lot of my younger players that I do work with I think it's okay to play other sports. Every path is so different. And I think we get into that, hey, you've got to, focus on tennis from the first time you start, and that can be it your whole life. And that obviously that gives you a lot more time on the court and attention to the sport, but I think it can also lead to, burnout, as well as maybe not being as balanced as an athlete and as a person. So when I grew up, I grew up in Plano, as Craig alluded to earlier, Plano East, in a subdivision called Los Rios. And there was Los Rios Country Club, which was actually a great club. Unfortunately, it's the tennis and the golf, and they may still have the clubhouse there, but it's no longer there, which is a bummer. But when I was about 6 years old, my parents were, we were country club rats. And so I saw them play and wanted to play there. And but I played every sport. I was on the swim team there for years. I did the youth baseball. I did football. I did basketball, track. I mean, you name it, I wanted to do it. So it was definitely a love of mine, but it really fell in a long list of other sports that I also loved to play. I just really honestly loved being with other players. I love the team sports and love to compete. And so, it feel like every year as I got past 12 years old, I would kind of delete a sport.
I see.
Track and field's done. And then maybe 13 years old, now I got rid of baseball. And then 14 years old, 15 years old, maybe got, quit with football. And so the two loves that I held on to were tennis and basketball. And I made my decision before my junior year. You only had 2 years to play varsity back in the day. You remember those days, probably, Craig.
Hey.
You know, I don't know where you guys went to high school, but back in Plano in the 90s, you could not play varsity until you were physically at the school. Well, those are, and they're still to this day, they're 2-year schools. However, they changed the rule to be fair, where you could travel to the other schools. So Williams, Clark, that you can travel to Plano East and get your 4 years of the opportunity to play varsity. But back in the early 90s, I only had 2 years, and I would have played varsity with Jimmy King, one of the Fab Five.
Oh yeah. Jimmy King.
And I quit. I quit to focus on tennis, which probably to most of you all listening is a great move. Obviously, it's been my career for over 20 years, but for me, it's still one of those things, man, where if I could go back and do it, I would have liked to play at least that junior year varsity with Jimmy King. Would have been cool before he went off to get in a couple finals with Michigan. So
incredible. And I bet coaches sort of salivated over your, you're a tall, lanky guy with an amazing wingspan. I'm sure in any sport, being at the net in tennis, but defending, getting rebounds in basketball or any game, it was a big asset. I'm sure the coaches were after you.
Yeah, for a tall guy, I was actually, my biggest strength asset was not necessarily my strength. I was tall, but I really didn't have a big weapon, a big serve for a tall guy. I'm right-handed, but my dad kind of had me swing the racket as a lefty, and I kind of it took off and it clicked. But the problem was growing up, obviously with baseball and football and basketball, those sports over the shoulder, I never really developed that on the left side of my body. So the serve was always extremely challenging and tricky for me because I didn't have that muscle memory like I did on my right side.
I see.
But I stuck with it. I knew back then it was still a big advantage kind of growing up in the 80s and 90s. And so I stayed with it, and I think it was a great benefit and asset for me. But, I was very fortunate growing up at Los Rios to just have some great coaches in development privately from, Craig, I don't know if you remember these names, Bill Heil, Vicky Shalaya, and then Andy Zoden came in, and then my coach and mentor still to this day is Keith Chrisman, who's the director at the Met Club down in Houston. You guys
Texas,
know Keith really well. Great guy, and he was unbelievable for me for the mental side. But Keith was very good friends with a lot of great players that were still playing on the tour or coaching on the tour, and they would come help out at Los Rios. And so I got to benefit from that. Guys like Kim Forsythe, Paul Williams, Craig Carden, who was coaching Martina at the time, Tracy DeLotte, as I mentioned, Andy Zoden. So we had an unbelievable crew there that would help out, and I was able to gain a lot of that insight, which helped me in my tennis career, playing career, but also coaching.
So you went to the national level of junior tennis, and tell us about getting into Oklahoma University and what it felt like to go to a huge school like that.
Crazy story. I was a late bloomer. I was a certain volleyer, and with the group of coaches that I just listed, they really encouraged me to switch to a one-handed backhand at 15 years old. Chip and charge, kind of Edberg, McEnroe, Becker style back in that day. I watched ton of film on Edberg and try to emulate him in any way I could. And so, the idea was to have a well-rounded game, but really try to impose my will at the net with my quickness. Again, I didn't have a ton of power, but I had the lefty spin and I had really good feel and a good slice, good volley. So, I was a late bloomer and kind of made some of the nationals in juniors my last year, but was never very highly ranked. I was probably top 10 in Texas a couple years, but never really had a high ranking in the national level. But I was just fortunate that the A&M Coach Kent, happened to see me play at College Station, kind of an excellence tournament with the top 16 players. And by that time I was a junior, and he loved my style of my play. He loved certain volleyers and loved doubles. And so it sat well with him. And unfortunately that next year the year I was graduating, he didn't have any scholarships available. And so he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get you a full ride at Tyler Junior College with Coach Peterson. And then after 1 year, I got a good scholarship for you. Well, my grandfather went to A&M, so I was pumped about it and was waiting for the papers to sign. Coach Peterson was out of town recruiting at another tournament, so just kind of waiting for the papers. And the OU coach, Paul Lockwood, my good buddy, had just lost his soon-to-be junior player. So he'd been there 2 years, Jock Simmons, and he was transferring to Mississippi State in the summer, so last minute. And he was very good friends with Coach Kent, Coach Lockwood and Coach Kent, and they were on the phone chatting. He's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just lost Jock Simmons, who was going to be my number one. And, here we are in June, and I don't really know what I'm going to do. I mean, I just need I need a solid player, but there's not a lot of time here. And he said, hey, man, I was kind of hiding and saving this guy at Tyler Junior College. But, Paul, if you need somebody and you like him, he's, good kid. And he's, got good potential, and he's a lefty. I think he'll be a pretty good team player. So literally got a phone call from Paul Lockwood, said, I'd love for you to fly up for a 1-day visit. And, offered me basically a full ride and about 80% the last 3 or 4 years. And I jumped on it and never looked back. It was amazing experience and a cool story, and somebody with great character like Coach Kent at A&M willing to help out another former coach, which, I owe both of those guys a lot.
Well, that's a rival too. I mean, A&M at the time is in the Big 12, and so he let you pass through his system to go to the opposition, basically.
We actually played them in the schedule, but they were actually the Big 8.
Oh, was it the Big 8? Okay.
Excuse me, we were the Big 8.
You're still the Big 8 that time. Okay, yeah. That's
yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, and so, but we did get to play them in dual matches and tournaments, and but a lot of my buddies, Blake Arant, Eric Horan, Texas guys were on that team, so I was looking forward to joining them. But I get to OU and just met so many great people there, from the coaches to the trainers to the other athletes to my team over the 4 years, and guys that I'm still very, very close with to this day. And Max Lyle, my first guy, my doubles partner from my freshman year, is my financial advisor for 20-something years. And my good friends, Brett Zuchner and Glenn and Jenny Zuchner down in Australia, I get to see them every year when I go down there. So it's definitely, as you guys know, with tennis, all these players I've been blessed to coach and play with.
Yeah.
They're friends of mine to this day, and we stay connected just like you guys in my life. I mean, tennis is such a blessing that gives you those relationships. So.
It is. And a quick question about playing at Oklahoma University. Were you there about the time that the Bryans, who you later coached on the big tour, were you there about when they played at Stanford, or are you just a little bit older?
I'm like 5 years.
5 years.
5 years older. So I didn't, but I was well aware of who they were. We did not play Stanford those years, thank God. But so I did not. I didn't obviously get to compete against them in juniors or college.
Right. They're a little younger. Yeah.
You never went to O'Connell's, did you? Across the street from the stadium? Did you ever go over to Connell's? I wouldn't think so.
Well, a few too many times, probably, Craig. We'll maybe save those stories.
Third set.
That's maybe number 96 or something.
There we go.
That's a local watering hole for those who are not from Norman.
Legendary.
Legendary. O'Connell's.
Yeah.
It was,
and we lived literally right across the street. And back then they had we had our own athletic village. All 3 dorms, the ladies had all the female sports, and then the football had theirs. And then all the other male sports were in the 3rd dorm, and we shared an athletic cafeteria. Now they kind of mix it with students to student athletes and all that stuff, which I think is cool too. But back then it was an all athletic village, and we all supported each other, and it was a great community. A lot of great memories.
Yeah.
Walking distance from O'Connell's to literally the football stadium right out the back door. So some great memories.
Maybe I should have said stumbled instead of walked. You probably stumbled across it. They did serve an adult beverage or two over there.
Yes, they did, and fortunately, I made it through. So
yes, it was a great environment.
Great school,
yeah.
great education, and somehow, guys, I graduated in 4 years. I still have, you have those sometimes reoccurring crazy dreams where I wake up and I didn't go to class or I missed a test and I need one more credit. And then I wake up, thank God, and I still come here in the office and look at the diploma. But I somehow graduated in 4 years and played all 4 years with the team. And, man, we took some great trips, our spring break trips, which is what every team member looks forward to. It's a week long, and you go with the team and you play a bunch of different colleges.
Yeah.
And we went Austin, Florida, I think it was Orlando, Las Vegas, and Hawaii. Those were my 4 trips. So
not too bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah,
nice going there.
Now, he probably stayed in the hotel all the time. I know him. You were hitting the books, studying, and didn't no nightlife. No, I can't imagine Phil.
Especially in Vegas, we stayed at the Excalibur. They definitely didn't have any blackjack tables there.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, the gambling.
Yeah. Well, you heard about these things, right? From the other guys. He stayed.
I was just a spectator. I just supported.
That's right. You played a good role right there.
That's great. Hey, tell us.
I don't like to lose money.
Never, even now. Hey, tell us about the transition from Oklahoma University to the Pro Tour, and then the transition from playing to coaching.
Yeah. It's a funny story. Like I said, it was a late bloomer. So my senior year, I played 1 and 2 singles and number 1 doubles. Definitely took some lumps, but I got to kind of see that competition up at that level. And, I was the type of guy that, I was so obsessed really with the Pro Tour and with Edberg. It's a funny story. Back to my freshman year, it's the first Friday, and we've made it through the first week in classes and practice, and they're all going out. It's 8:30, and they've already eaten at the athletic cafeteria, and everybody look at Max and the other guys on my team are like, "Where's Phil? Where is he?" And they're like, "Well, maybe he's in his dorm. I don't know. We've been calling him." So they knock on my door and they open up the door and there's posters and pictures. I had Edberg everywhere. And then I had my VCR at the little TV and I was watching the classic Edberg Becker Wimbledons, and I had them all on VHS tapes.
Love it.
And they're like, "Are you really up here in your room on a Friday night watching tapes of Edberg?" And I was like, "Yep, I really am." And so, I was just very, very driven. I was very still social like I am now and connecting with all my teammates. But,
sure.
Man, I was extremely driven to play pro and experience the pro world. So when I finished in 96 and graduated, I moved. My dad was actually working and commuting from Houston, so he had an apartment. So I moved in with him, and Keith was now at the Met, Keith Crispin, my coach for all those years. And so he was going to kind of coach me. And as I made that transition to see how I did and back then they were called satellites. Now they're called futures.
Futures, right.
Listen to this. So I start training. I'm able to teach there and make a little bit of money to save up to go play. And so the first one is that summer circuit that goes through like Lafayette and then Waco and maybe Austin. And I think if you made the Masters,
fourth week. Yeah. Tulsa,
Oklahoma. The first 2 weeks in the qualifying, because I'm just starting out, I draw in Lafayette, I draw a guy and I lose 6-4, 6-4 first round qualies. And I'm like, man, this is tough. I don't even know this guy. Well, his name's Andre Sá.
Sá, Brazilian, beautiful game. Yeah.
So like top 100 in the world in singles, top probably 20 in doubles. So I'm like, okay, well, no problem. So I train, get ready, come back. But then I go to Waco, and I'm on the third court at Sul Ross Tennis Center, and I'm playing a tall Belarusian. I'm what am I, 22, playing like a 15, 16-year-old tall Russian.
And this is Max Mirny on his way up.
Max Mirny, I lose 2-2.
Wow.
And I don't know who these guys are. And I'm like, I'm terrible. I'm getting drilled by these guys. So I played kind of throughout that year a little bit, but I realized quickly, I had some wins here and there, and even had a doubles win at a challenger, but I just wasn't good enough, and realized that really quickly. Two things hit me. It was very, very, the competition was extremely deep and international, which now it's even more so 30 years later. But man, just it was a grind, and it was, there was just some really good players. And so I was pretty realistic of my chances. And kind of after doing it throughout that year, I just kind of felt like I just didn't want to go out there and keep doing it to try to see. I kind of knew, I was smart enough to realize that I probably just, the odds were I wasn't going to make it. But, at that time I was very into the pro style of tennis and learning that. And Keith had been working with some pros. Tommy Ho had moved to Houston on his comeback, and Keith was coaching him. And I had been pen pals with a junior from Wichita, Kansas named Tara Snyder.
Tara Snyder, yeah.
And back then there was no cell phones, no texting, there was barely email.
Yeah.
So her and I became actually pen pals. We would write letters. How you doing? How's the junior? How's college? And then our big Rolex regionals would go through Wichita indoors. So I would get to meet up with her and see her family. We just got to be really good friends. And so I wrote her a letter and said, you got to come to Houston. You got to work with Keith Chrisman. We got Tommy Ho here. I'm training here at the Met. It's a great setup. And she had just won the U.S. Open Juniors. And was now starting to play pro. She was about 270 in the world, and, kind of getting some contracts, looking for an agent. And I kept begging her to come down there, probably because I had a little crush on her too. But, so she ended up coming down there, trying it. And it was a really great setup, and it was a great environment for her with training. We had some great, fitness trainers, but Keith became kind of the main coach. But since he was the director there at the Met, he wasn't able to travel full time. And so I started hitting with her a ton. I started, hey, help me out in Oklahoma City. And, we just were spending a ton of time together, and ended up, starting to date. And it was a great relationship because we just had that passion for tennis in common. And so I was able to kind of vent and channel my pro tennis, if you will, and making it out there with her and through her. And so I would travel to watch her play, but really I was just the boyfriend, and until Keith really wasn't able to travel that much, I became more of a vital role in terms of the support, the hitting, the strategy, and I didn't hide it. I was proud of it. Hey, I'm the boyfriend, but I'm helping out. And about a year into it, she's 270, now she's 120, now she's 80. And ended up winning a pro tournament in Quebec City, and now she's 33 in the world. So we did it for 3.5 years. It worked. We balanced it. It wasn't easy. We were both very, very young, and she was achieving a lot of money and success and trying to work Keith. Keith would come to the main slams, and then I would be there as well, but then he would leave and on the other tournaments, and I would go on the road. And when dating somebody like that too, it was tricky, but we both look back, we laugh at it. We had some great stories, great memories, and obviously some great success. And hopefully I helped her a little bit out, and she definitely helped me get my name out there with her amazing success and amazing wins that she had out there. And so she was very vital in kind of pole vaulting me, if you will, into that stage in front of agents and USTA and other coaches that really respected our relationship and respected me now as a coach. So that's how I got out there, and you meet people just like any job, and you connect, and that's one thing I think I'm pretty good at it. So
you definitely are, yeah. And
so she was a great jump start for me, and it was cool to share that with her as well.
And then let's use that springboard, or that pole vault as you described it, and tell us a little bit about Brian Bros and Sam Querrey, Karina Moraru. How'd you get into the next level? Because these are big names.
It's funny how we all kind of look back in our careers and lives, and it's all just a journey, right?
Yep.
It's these stepping stones and this path turned into that path. And so, you know, I got my name out there through Tara, and then, but I loved it. I was willing to coach anybody. So I would train with Tommy Ho and go watch him at some tournaments with Keith. So it obviously helped knowing him with his background and his career. I coached Wade McGuire and, coached Andrew Painter and helped him, local guy, Australian. That was one of the most world-class weapons of serve I've ever seen in my life.
Big hitter.
So I was coaching Andrew Painter around 2000, 2001, helping him try to get back into the top 100 of doubles, and then hopefully top 200, top 150 in singles. And, we had a sponsor, but kind of money was tight and was running out. And, a good friend of ours, Millie McDonald, was helping us out. Was like, guys, I just don't know. We've gone a year, and he was doing okay, but as you know, it's expensive out there. And so we all had a meeting and felt like, at least he should go play, and let me try to figure out what my next move is. And we happened to be finishing up a satellite in Florida. And so I called up Karina Marario and her husband, who I was good friends with, and said, we're in town. And she had just kind of fought off leukemia.
Yeah.
And so Andrew and I ended up staying at her house, and she would come out. She hadn't hit a ball in over a year, and she would watch us practice. And one day she was in her casual wear, and it was just her and Andrew and I, and she was watching, and we were done. I said, hey girl, get that racket.
Yeah. Get some shoes on. Let's go.
And literally 40 minutes later, I'm like helping her on her forehand and, hey, talking about some strategy, and, I can see you, coming back and doing this.
Yeah.
And long story short, she, calls me about a month later, and she's like, hey, I'm just talked to my husband. We talked it over for a few hours, and I'm going to make a comeback.
Yes.
I said, that's great. I'm so excited. I go, Andrew, your husband must be pumped to coach you. He coached her for years. And she's like, no, we're going to separate that this time. And she goes, I want you to be my coach. And so I was extremely, humbled by it. And it was just, I was blown away, and it meant a lot to me. We were very, very good friends, and, she's a really special person, and she went through a lot. And so she taught me a lot, honestly, more than I probably taught her. But by being with her, she was so well respected and well liked by agents and other players, men and women. And obviously, number one in the world, and won Wimbledon with Lindsay Davenport. So I got to meet a lot of, Mary Jo Fernandez and a lot of the agents, and again, a lot of the USTA people that I hadn't maybe met already through Tara. And so it was just a great experience coaching her. And through her, I met a guy, Graydon Oliver, my good buddy that lives in Houston. And Graydon got to about top 30 in the world in doubles, played with Jan Michael Gamble.
Yeah.
And so I coached him, and then through him, we would practice a lot with Bob and Mike. And so we're in Joplin, Missouri in 2003, playing a challenger, and Bob actually had just come back from Australia. They lost second round doubles. And that's when they were still playing a little bit of singles. Well, Graydon was only playing doubles at that time, and he finaled the T-Bar M Challenger with Martin Garcia, and lost in the finals. So we got on a plane, got to Joplin, and Bob comes in, and we're having dinner before the tournament started, and he said, "Hey, do you mind if?" And I didn't know him at all. I kind of maybe met him walking by, him and Mike, but he said, "Hey, since Graydon's not playing singles and I'm not playing doubles, if I ask him, do you mind helping me this week?" I said, I would love to. Yeah. Once again, I just loved helping people. So I would give them strategies. I was thinking about this the other day where I say, hey, because they were unbelievable at the net, as we all know them now. But back then, he didn't miss a ball from the baseline. And massive serve, but he liked to stay back and kind of grind out players. And so I said, hey, I want your goal is you got to come into the net 2 times on your serve. You got to serve and volley twice. And on return games, you got to come in 1 to 2 times as well. So we just gave these little kind of miniature goals to try to accomplish in there. Well, Graydon won the doubles that week, and Bob won the singles. He beat Paul Goldstein in the finals. and it's kind of all she wrote. He went back and told Mike that, hey, there's a great chemistry. We got to somehow work with this guy. And they had a really good coach that they were working with, but I think they were looking for a change. I had been with Graydon about a year, and kind of same thing. He had a sponsor, but at 30, 40, 50 in the world, it's hard to afford a full-time coach at that stage. And we decided to kind of split at that point, and got a call a few months later to come help them in Camarillo, California, to get ready for the clay court season, and finally got the call.
That's awesome. So you went full-time with the Bryan Bros. Tell us about going full-time with Wayne Bryan, because we've had him on the show, and he's a dear friend. We love his book. He's hilarious, huh? He's
awesome, and he is so good for tennis. I really respect him so much, and as well, he's at the tournaments and does his thing, and everybody can hear him and see him because he's just got so much energy and so much passion. But behind the scenes, his lovely wife, Bob and Mike's mom, Kathy Bryan, was very vital in their development and stroke production and strategy. And she didn't like to travel and go to the tournaments. She got pretty nervous, and I think they both did, as most parents do. But she was very vital, along with Wayne and their junior program at their Camarillo club back in the day, and worked with both of them in juniors, and it was still a huge part of their success from every stage on, along with Wayne. They're great parents. They got them into music. They got them into, obviously, the tennis, and in school and grades was very important to them as well. And I know you guys have read Wayne's book, and it's a great book for parents trying to develop athletes and tennis players. And I know they're really passionate about teaching parents as well as players. So I learned an awful lot from both of them in terms of kind of dialing in Bob and Mike and understanding that identical twin dynamic.
Yeah.
But just sitting there at dinner or sitting there during a match scouting and chatting with Wayne Bryan, or being in Acapulco, Mexico, and Bob and Mike sneak through a quarterfinal match, and I would go off while Bob and Mike were stretching, and I would chat with Kathy Bryan about the match and get her thoughts. And I would always like to communicate with them several emails in Paris, because like I said, they didn't travel a ton, especially overseas. And I would always just like to pick their brain and inform them of what we were doing and how the boys were doing, to just inform them as parents, but also because I just really respected them, both of them as coaches. And I like to get their input. And it was a great team we had. It was a great team we had. So
speaking of coaching, I got a thought here. Just as you were talking about, Wayne and Kathy, they did other things off the court with the brothers. Do you think it's important that people that you coach have outside interests? Like they were music. Is there is there an outlet that somebody at that level needs to do something else besides just play tennis? Can you is it like eating candy? Can you get too much candy? Can you play too much tennis?
In my opinion, yes. You have to have that outlet, so that you can refresh your mind, your spirit, your competitive tank, if you will. Obviously, physically resting is good, but especially after seeing those guys and obviously coaching other players that maybe didn't have that, I highly recommend it. I think it was a valuable tool and outlet for Bob and Mike. They were extremely passionate about it and still are. They're unbelievable in their Bryan Brothers band. And we would literally finish practice or finish a match and either go to their house or go to the hotel room, and they would get on their guitar, get on their drums, get on their keyboard, whatever one they left, I would jump on it, and was pretty awful at it. But they tried to teach me as well. But no, I do think it's a very, very important outlet to have, whether it's music or whether it might be a lot of players like to go play golf.
Yeah.
whatever the hobby may be, I think it's extremely important, especially if you're going to kind of take it another step and go forward as a professional traveling 35, 40 weeks a year.
I could see you being the tambourine player in the Bryan Brothers band. You shake a good tambourine.
That's one thing I could keep a decent beat going, but I know that the boys got pretty frustrated with me on the drums. I would get off beat. It's hard to, you got four things going. You got left hand, left foot, right foot, cowbell.
Cowbell for sure.
It's pat your head,
exactly.
and chewing gum.
Hey, Craig and I are parents. You're a newlywed. Tell us a little bit about the influences of Kathy and Wayne and the way they did parenting. We remember the hilarious story about the boys sneaking a video game or making the case for owning a video game, and then Wayne is throwing it into the canyon behind their homes because they were a little larcenous about how much video gaming they were doing. But so that points to very focused dad. But he was also big on, hey, after matches, we're talking about pizza. We're talking about, where we're going for dinner, that kind of thing. So tell us about that dichotomy and how that influenced not just you as a tennis coach, how that might influence you as a player, as a parent one day, and how that kind of parenting made your job easier, tougher. Maybe you can compare and contrast that stuff with the Bryans.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I really learned from them is how to build players up after tough losses. Keeping players motivated and keeping them up is another aspect of coaching. But I think it's easier because they're confident because they just won. They just won a big match. They were down match points or whatever. So it's a lot easier to talk to them, get their energy up, get them ready for the next round or next tournament. The hardest part and the toughest part about the job is, you're in Rome and you lose on a Wednesday and you don't play till next Wednesday.
Ouch.
And you've already practiced 6 weeks and you've done the training. And so it's keeping things fresh. It's keeping them, positive and believing they're still the best and you're still going to win the next week. And I learned how to do that and kind of improve on that. Thanks to Kathy and Wayne. They were just really good. And even with me, because you're part of the team, we were the wolf pack, the three of us. And so, Wayne and Kathy knew that. We were very close, 4 or 5 years in age. So we were the triplets, some would say, but so we were very, very close. And there's a lot of good to that. And there's also a lot of challenges to that with keeping that line and, making sure that I'm running the practices to, hey, here's what we got to do our job, and here's what we're doing. And they're really respectful. They always have been. And Wayne and Kathy were just so good at keeping things positive with the three of us. Every time there was a loss, Wayne and Kathy would shoot out these emails to us three, and it literally 3 pages long of, you're 23-6 still on the year, and you've already won Auckland, and you've won Sydney, and you finaled the Australian Open, and next up is this and that. He was just always, and it was real though. It wasn't like he was trying to blow smoke and fake or anything. It was real facts and real data.
Yeah, it sounds like it's analytics and parenting in one email, and relentlessly positive too.
Yeah, and he was just really good at basically helping me understand how to get them and myself to flush it and move on.
Flush it. We're going to get to that in the second set. I want to hear more about that one.
Yeah. So, as it relates to parents, they were just extremely supportive. Yes. Anytime your parents that coached you and then had to give, let somebody else take it over, I don't think is easy, because they developed them. They were there for, all the junior titles, and they were close by at Stanford. And then they were there at tournaments early on as rookie pros. So I don't think that's easy to hand off that baton, but they were really respectful and trusted me. And like I said, they just were unbelievable at picking us up and putting the pieces back together, whether it's a phone call, whether it's emails, whether it's going back to their house after a tournament. And so I learned a lot about, I think you have to do that as parents and you guys obviously have experienced that. And from what I could tell, all the years of watching you guys with your kids, were very good at that too. You always guys seem positive. That's how Wayne and Cappy were. They were, okay, what's next? Like you said, hey, practice is over. Let's get our minds on music. Let's go eat pizza. Let's go get together with Marty Fish and your friends and James and all that. They knew how to keep them on the path, keep them motivated, keep them hungry, make the losses seem like this, even though that was a Grand Slam final or semis of a Masters, and make every win seem big. Yeah. That's probably a great way I could put it.
Well, there sure were a lot of big wins, and I'm thinking of, the Bryan brothers as all-time greats in doubles. Some of the losses that I remember the most hurt a lot, because they may have been one or two here and there where the Bryans lost in Davis Cup to, say, Croatia, if you remember that one. But I want to get into this hilarious, beautiful picture I saw that looked like a boy band at a first glance, but it was in the Spanish embassy in Madrid, and it was James Blake, Mike, Bob, Philip Farmer, and Andy Roddick. And it was just this amazing energy in this picture. And you're kind of holding these hats, these red, white, and blue hats, which is why I wore this one today. Tell us about Davis Cup in Spain. And I know you have a hilarious story about that, too.
Yeah, so, obviously with Bob and Mike, I was extremely fortunate during those years that I was able to go to every Davis Cup match, because Patrick McEnroe at that time was big on the private coaches basically being the assistant coaches. Yeah. So, Brad Gilbert would come with Andy, and, whether it was James or Marty, their coaches would come along, Kelly Jones or Brian. And so I would get to go along and help along with obviously Bob and Mike. Uh-huh. And that was an unbelievable experience for me. It gave me a ton of confidence. Just feeling like I belonged, and was kind of had the locker room talk with all the team and Patrick and Brad Gilbert. And so, I would always, one thing I have always tried to do and never stopped, even to this day, is, be a good listener. Uh-huh. You can learn from everybody, and, be careful how much you're talking. You got two ears, so make sure you're listening and writing notes and really understanding, what they're saying, what they're doing. I would watch warm-ups. I would watch interviews, Phil Jackson to Brad Gilbert to you name it, I'm watching it. Yeah. And just always trying to kind of get inside their head and look from their lens and try to think and see and understand what they're trying to say or trying to experience. So we're in Davis Cup final. And it's 2004, Sevilla, Spain. This was Sevilla. We were in Madrid earlier for a tournament.
Sevilla in the south, yeah.
But the Sevilla, and it was in a bull ring. It was half of a bull ring, and it was the largest tennis crowd at that point in history, 27,000 people.
Unreal.
It was such a trip. It was such a mind-blowing, phenomenal experience. And Nadal's making his kind of debut and his, come out to greatness that we know of now.
He was 16 and a half at the time or something like that?
Yeah, maybe 17.
Maybe
we had Andy and Marty, and James was there too. It was kind of between those two, but it was Andy and then Bob and Mike, obviously, for the doubles. And we had so much fun kind of in our practices. We would get there a week early, and those were some of my most fun times because I had Bob and Mike and then the whole team and all the private coaches. So we went to dinner every night, and so obviously it was a tough loss. Nadal dominated, but we did get the doubles win pretty handily on that Saturday in front of 27,000 screaming fans. But we had a pretty good U.S. section, I will say. Uh-huh. And so we lose Sunday, and, when you win the whole title, at the end of the year, the whole team, that country is basically celebrating. And obviously they're now celebrating Nadal because they see what's about to happen in that champion. Well, we decided, instead of moping and going in the locker room, hey, we had a great year, great final, and just got beat by, just a couple really good singles players. Carlos Moya and really Nadal. Mm. So we go on the other side that was kind of blocked off, and it was a grass field. And we put some bases out, and the players played against the coaches and staff in baseball, like when we were kids. Andy Roddick took one of his blue Babolat, no strings in it. And so the outside of the racket, the head, is where you gripped. And the handle, he built up and he injected it with silicone.
Yes.
And then so it was just a massive ball with. And we played about an hour and a half, and we're laughing. People are slipping, sliding into the bases. Well, obviously the players did beat the coaches, but it was such a cool thing to here. We just lose this final, but the team sticks together. It's kind of like Wayne and Kathy. Let's get our minds off of it. Let's go do something fun. We're playing baseball on the second half on the other side of the bull rink in Sevilla, Spain, laughing our butts off, having a blast while Spain's celebrating with 27,000 fans. And here we are playing baseball. So
that is the most resilient, flush it American thing I've ever heard.
It was beautiful. And it kind of, again, just you learn so much from those experiences. And it goes back to your question a few minutes ago about, hopefully that will aid me and help me in looking through that lens of that experience of being a better father, as we hope to have children soon. And so, I will draw those experiences from, Sevilla, Spain and other tournaments, other players, other coaches, other parents that I've learned, and balancing out, work hard, play hard, have fun. You got to enjoy it.
You probably remember that match, don't you, Rafa? You remember those matches?
Well, it was a long, long time ago. No, I embraced the pressure. I learned everything I can learn from Coach Felipe Farmer. No, It was a life-changing Davis Cup match. No, and I'm a better man for it. No, thank you, Felipe.
Thank you, Rafa. That's a great compliment coming for you. So that's pretty good.
That's not bad, is it? That's
pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of YouTubers on there that I'm sure you guys have heard that are pretty good, but that's right up there.
That's right up there. Oh yeah. No. He does great with Rafa, and that's I knew you when you were talking about this. I go, I can't miss this opportunity. That's pure magic, pure gold. Gold, Philip. It's gold, Philip. Yeah, no.
Gold. But like in other careers, for me, it was getting to know other coaches.
Yes.
It was listening and asking questions, whether it was Wayne and Kathy, whether it was Brad Gilbert or Kelly Jones or Paul Anacone or whoever I could talk to, Darren Cahill. So many great coaches out there, so many great people that were willing to chat back and forth and talk about matches, talk about strategies. So here I am with Darren Cahill in Montreal talking about Leighton Hewitt because Bob's about to play Hewitt or whatever, and just chit-chatting back and forth. I got the opportunity to meet Steffi and Andre and just become friends with them. And there's just so many great people in the tennis industry, whether it's pro or not. And I use that opportunity to try to get to know each and every one of them. I'm a social guy, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I really wanted to connect with them and learn from them. And that's what kept me out there for so long and still have these relationships to this day, and being able to survive out there and still be an ATP Tour coach, which I still am as a member, is in meeting Sam Querrey through other people, and meeting, Karina through Andrew Painter, and meeting Bob and Mike through Graydon and so on and meeting these players through Davis Cup or going to the Olympics in Athens, and now knowing this coach or this agent and so it's just it's relationships, guys. It's establishing relationships with the coaches, the players, the USTA, the Bob and Mike's agents, very, very good friend of mine and close friend for years, John Tobias. He was very instrumental in me getting the job with Sam Querrey, staying on board, getting the job again with Bob and Mike the second time around. So, relationships.
We've had one question.
Oh, good, from the gallery.
Olympics, I heard him say Olympics. Any thought about Bob and Mike playing in the Olympics? Do you think they'll play in next Olympics, or are they through? Are they totally? We had one of the people ask on Facebook. So I wanted to ask that
Yeah,
question.
that's a good question. They're through, Bob had that hip replacement and he actually unbelievable comeback and they got to number one, won Miami.
Yeah.
But their bodies were breaking down. He's got 3 young kids. He's missed a lot of their events. He lives in Florida.
Yeah.
Mike and the parents and Mike's wife live in California. Mike and his wife just had a baby boy.
Congrats.
So, as you guys know, your life, your priorities change. And I just think, the last year was already tough on them. I think to get their bodies ready, not just Bob with his hip, but Mike had a lot of injuries early on with his hips and wrist. And it's just absolute brutal on the body. And they were so professional about traveling with the masseuse and the trainer and had a lot of great people around their team and that kept them out there. But I think they just felt like COVID hit, it's time, let's shut it down. And so, I think the Davis Cup is moving in a different direction and there's some young Americans and, that are coming up with, massive serves like Isner and Riley Opelka, and a lot of good players, and that Bob and Mike, I know they're supporting with the new captain, Marty Fish. So, I think it's over for them, but I do think they will stay involved in tennis. I think they will play some exhibitions. I think they'll do some corporate speaking as well on the side. I think they'll do their exhibitions with their father and at some of the tournaments, and they'll stay involved as promoting certain brands as well that they're so good at. So,
and the Bryan brothers,
you'll still be able to see them.
So the band will be intact, but not necessarily on the tennis court, but on the stage, right?
That's right. They'll dive into music a lot more and probably do a lot more of their music and their band shtick at more events.
Well, rounding out the first set, I had the pleasure of being invited to see a practice. On your way to, maybe it was Barcelona or Rome, you were working with Sam Querrey. You brought Brad Gilbert in. I loved your point about listening and learning from other coaches, and you were, including Brad in that. Brad makes me think of Roddick and, of course, Agassi. And it makes me think of the hilarious story. You didn't just learn from people like Brad and Agassi. You won a bet from Andre. Tell us about that.
I did. Yeah. We were at Davis Cup in 2005, and it's actually at the tie you were talking about earlier, the painful one. It was in Carson, California against Croatia.
I remember Lubicic. That was a tough weekend, yes.
And Andre signed up. And it was after Australia. Andre signed up for Davis Cup that year. So it was Andy, Andre, and the Bryans. We were pumped.
What a team.
We were pumped. We were going to win it. And Bob and Mike were like 11-0 or 8-0, something like that. I don't remember the exact stat, but they were undefeated. And by that time, I had become friends with Phil Jackson, who had come to Australia when he stopped with the Lakers and had that 1 or 2 year gap.
Yeah, genius coach of Chicago Bulls and Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, man, I love that guy.
Yeah.
What a legend. He helped me out tremendously as a coach. Even though he was basketball, I learned a ton from him in Australia as he came to watch the Bryans play quite a few matches. And we remained friends and would chat back and forth on the phone. Well, he decided to come to Carson as well. Unfortunately, the team lost. Bob and Mike lost their doubles to Lubicic and Ancic, 6-5, monster serves, and just played lights out. Lost in 4 sets. I'll tell you a quick story, but Bob, we go to the locker room. And we're in the locker room after they're the only match on that Saturday, the doubles. They're devastated. Not only did they lose for their team, which was the most important for them, they felt like, we let our team down. Now we're down, I believe 2-1 going into Sunday. But they were devastated because they lost their perfect record.
Yeah.
They lost that, nobody thought they would lose. And I had no idea what to say. So it's very quiet. Patrick McEnroe came in, kind of tapped him on the shoulder. Marty, Andy, Andre, and those guys, and everybody could tell their heads were down, pretty upset. And so they kind of walked out. Well, Phil Jackson came back to the locker room and asked Patrick if he could come back and speak to the boys. And he said, absolutely. So he comes in, he kind of looks at me, and he could tell I'm a little lost for words, and just kind of winked at him like, yeah, it's pretty tough. They're struggling here. And they both looked up, as the identical twins do at the same time. And he just looked at them. And the only thing he said was, boys, did you really think you were never going to lose a Davis Cup match in your career? And they kind of looked at each other like, he's right. Like, we weren't going to be perfect. It's not a perfect sport. And it builds on the premise that we train with. Hey, don't worry about errors here and there. Flush those. Let's move on. Let's think big picture and think about how we're trying to play the game. The aggressive style of doubles. Think about how you're trying to play rather than the individual points that you're losing. And he comes in. I didn't know what to say. And he goes, boys, did you really think you weren't ever going to lose? And they kind of smirked, and they just snapped right out of it.
They did.
So we're in same weekend. We're having breakfast at the hotel in Carson. And it's Andre, Darren Cahill, Brad Gilbert, Andy, me, and the Bryans. And they're talking about how live Andy's shoulder is. Like, he just has such a live arm. Never forget, in Austin, we're doing a Davis Cup practice in Austin because he had moved there. And we warmed up. Now we're practicing serves, and he literally doesn't use any legs, and he's just crushing serves like 150, no legs.
Wow.
And
impressive.
Like a third or fourth warm up. Like, his arm was so live and powerful. And Andre said, so we started talking about Wayne Arthurs. Wayne
Australian
Arthurs
player.
a singles guy, great lefty, tall guy, Australian, really good in doubles. And Andre goes, yeah, what's crazy about Wayne is his serve is so big like Andy's, but he's not even that tall. And I got offended because I feel like I'm tall, so he's taller than I am. I go, Andre, what are you talking about? That guy's tall. Like, do you not think I'm tall? Like, he's taller than I am. He goes, no, he's not. There's no way. And he goes, you're barely over 6'2". I'm like, bro.
Oh, man.
I've been told I'm 6'4" since I was like 13 or 14. He's like, there's no chance you're 6'4". And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, get up right now. So I get up. He goes, take your shoes off. So I take my running shoes off. We went and found somebody at the hotel, whatever, got a measuring tape. And they go, yep, 6'2 3/4. I said, what? And I remember Darren looking at me and he goes, dude, Andre can guess your weight and your height and he's unbelievable at it. And I said, okay, well, he might be right on that, but there's no way Wayne Arthurs is taller than I am. No way. And he goes, you want to bet? And I go, yeah, I'll bet you, because now I'm mad I lost the other bet on my So I said, yeah, I'll bet.
Have you ever stood next to Wayne Arthurs at this point? Do you know him?
No. I mean,
no.
I've talked to him, but no.
Yeah, don't really.
But I just felt it. And I said, I know he's taller than me. I'm around him every week on the doubles tour. He goes, dude, I've been competing against that guy for 12 years. Trust me. And he goes, what do you want to bet? And he goes, I'll give you 100 to 1 odds. I said, okay, fine. I'll bet you $100. And he goes, I'm going to take your 100. He goes, trust me. And he goes, whatever you do when I win, please only pay me in 20s and 50s. Because I'm superstitious. It was either superstitious about $100 bill or 50s. So he said, whatever it is, just, remember that I don't take that type of bill. And I said, that's fine, Andre. Just remember when you write that check for $1,000, it's Philip with 1 L. And Andy Roddick gave me the elbow, and he goes, you idiot, if you win $10,000.
Yeah, 100 to 1.
And I was like, oh, yeah. I didn't even realize that. So Andre leaves the room. We're at Davis Cup against Croatia. We got one more, I think that was Sunday morning. So we got another day or so. And I remember Darren Cahill coming up to me and he goes, mate, you're going to lose that bet, but you had to take it. you had to take that bet, $100 to win 10 grand. And I was like, I'm telling you, Darren, I think, he goes, he's not wrong on this stuff very often. Bob and Mike were like two little kids jumping up and down. Oh my gosh, you're going to win 10 grand. You're going to do it. 10 grand. I go, guys, I'm not going to take his money. And Andy goes, dude, he will take your $100.
No question.
If you win, you take that 10 grand. So next week is Indian Wells. All the players are coming there. Obviously, Wayne Arthurs will be there. And there happens to be, they do a big meeting with all the coaches and players. So by this time, the word spread. People are hearing about it online, word of mouth from one player to another, one coach to another. I'm getting messages like pumping me up, like it's like a boxing match or a tennis match. So we get to Indian Wells, we get to the player meeting, and here comes Andre, walks up. And he goes, you ready to lose that money? I said, nope, I got my name all over that 10 grand. And so here comes Wayne Arthurs walking up, and I'm kind of sizing him up. It's so close. And everybody, forget the meeting, everybody crowds around us.
Yeah.
Like 75 people.
This is like championship boxing. It's
It's like everybody's watching like
Ali Frazier. Everybody's going, all right, come on.
Andre's like, all right, you ready to do this? I said, yeah, let's go. So we took off our shoes, and it was like under a tent. And so we were on this grass field, and he said, okay, get back to back. And I remember kind of like slouching a little bit because the bet was, remember, Andre needed Wayne to be the same height or shorter than me.
So 6'2" and 3/4 is the target.
Yeah, technically barefoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
And so I needed Wayne to be taller than me to win the bet.
Right. So you're just
if it's tied or less, I lose. So I'm slouching a little bit. So he says, okay, both of you guys, shoulders up. Wayne's laughing. You could just feel the tension in the air. I close my eyes, and then all of a sudden, I just hear Andre's voice, and we all can recognize that voice. And I got to say it on the podcast.
Do it.
He said, oh, shit.
It wasn't like that. I'm sure it was a little more like,
no, that was it.
It was just that.
It was just a plain. Oh, wow.
But
deflated.
I knew I won. And I can also hear on the side, Bob and Mike, like two high school kids, more excited than I was. Philip, you won the money. You won the money. Andre made us switch sides just to make sure the ground wasn't uneven.
Makes sense.
Wayne Arthurs was about that much taller than I was.
So 6'3" point something.
Barely.
Yeah.
And Andre he's pissed.
Yeah.
He cannot believe, he's in shock. And he just turns to me, no smile, and he goes, I'll have your money tomorrow on site.
Is the crowd going wild at this point? All the guys they're just
everybody's hugging me.
Oh, yeah. Wayne Arthurs, is he loving it too?
Oh yeah. He's wanting to cut,
He wants to,
And so to finish up the story, next day I'm talking with Bob and Mike, booking practice, and I see a bald-headed guy walking towards me with a head bag on his shoulders. And he literally, I have my speech prepared because I was friends with Andre as well, becoming pretty good friends. I didn't feel right taking the money. So I was going to just tell him, hey, it was fun. Let's just don't worry about it. And before I could get the first word Andre out, he literally slaps me 2 stacks, 10 grand. Cash.
Not hundreds.
No, they were 50s.
I knew
it. Yep. And 2 stacks, 10 grand. And he said, congratulations. And as I could get out my speech, thank you. No, I can't take it. He turned around and walked off. And so I'm looking over again, Bob and Mike, Leander Pays, they're like a bunch of cheerleaders. They're going nuts.
Fill up.
So I told, Bob and Mike are like, we got to go get it in the bank. Let's get it in the bank. You can't have that cash on you. So I think I took a picture with it on the bed at the hotel room. I go to Andre the next night. He's getting ready for his night match. And I say, hey, listen to me just for 1 second. And he goes, nope. He goes, as bad as you feel for taking my money, I would feel worse not paying my bets. I always pay my bets. He goes, you deserve the money. You won it fair and square. Take the money, do whatever you want. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to donate to your charity over the years. And that's one way I'll give back. So Beautiful. I've been fortunate to go to his amazing charity event, which I've got amazing stories on that too. But, he's just a wonderful man. He's incredibly generous. Him and Steffi are just unbelievable, passionate about tennis and giving back, and really enjoyed my time with them and really enjoyed winning the bet off him, to be honest.
15 years later, now you
That's hilarious. He doesn't lose any of those, yeah. Hey, before we get to one last question in the first set, CB, anybody from the crowd? You got any intriguing, awesome questions from there?
Well, we've got a couple of comments out there.
Oh,
Brett Femwright said, "Hey, do you remember at the Four Seasons having a beverage with him?" I guess that he said to say hello. So
I do remember. Yeah, he's a great guy. Tell him hello.
He's literally a comedian. The guy's hilarious. Yeah.
Also,
we've had some beverages together and some funny laughs for sure.
I bet.
Also, we have Nick Smith asking about Jeff Farmer. He was a good athlete, I guess, right? Jeff Farmer?
He was, my buddy Nick Smith. So, talk about passion in tennis. Nick and I were very close in juniors. I would drive up, or he would drive up, or our moms would drive us to Denison at the Four, I think it was the Four Seasons Club there. I think it's still there.
Yeah.
Or he would drive to Los Rios, and we would literally, play baseline games, string rackets because we'd break all our strings, then play sets, and we would play 2 or 3 days, spend the night, and we literally play about 8 hours a day. And we were both extremely passionate about it and kind of helped raise the bar for each other. So Nick has always been a close friend and kind of helped set the bar high for me for working hard in juniors, and then that carried along in college and pros. And my dad, he loved my dad, always makes us laugh. He's a comedian and he's a character. He actually got a scholarship back in the day to A&M and then transferred to Sam Houston. But in both places, he played basketball, baseball, and football.
Oh, he's such an athlete. Nick is unreal.
And 4 or 5 tennis player, played at Los Rios and then played on some USTA leagues and things like that. But he's in the Hall of Fame for over 50 softball. I mean, he's just a great athlete. And I know Nick remembers that, as well as some funny jokes my dad can tell when he's had a couple beers. So
that's great.
But also, got one other person chiming in. Somebody from Plano East named Dan Razor says hi. He's watching right now.
My coach, Dan Razor.
Yes.
Dan. Hey, Dan. Yeah, Dan was very instrumental at Plano East. Like I said, we only had 2 years, which kind of pissed me and Bill Bailey, my doubles partner, off. But of course, they changed the rules after. But we did get the state champion in tennis with Tomoko,
awesome.
Who was phenomenal, went and played for Pepperdine. But, Dan was a great great player, and he's a great coach because he really let us, kind of find our own, personalities on the court and our own styles. Obviously, when you're a coach of high school or college or any team, you're dealing with so many different personalities and different styles of players and different, maturity levels, especially in high school. And so he really helped me kind of, learn to cope with that as well. All the different players that were out there and the freedom to kind of play the certain volley and to do different things, he'd let us go play college, summer tournaments and pro tournaments and gave us some great outlets and great advice, which helped me kind of in dealing with multiple players as I went through my coaching career. So, I'm very thankful for Dan and my development, as well as Paul Lockwood at OU, and a lot of great coaches along the way. As you guys know, it takes an army, man. It takes a team at least, and
more than a village. Yeah.
To have Keith and Andy and those guys, Dan and Paul Lockwood and many others with great parents as well along the way was really important for my development.
Well, speaking of freedom and adjusting, which is something you learned from Dan at Plano East, We're going to roll into the last question of set one. You're in Paris. It's the first slam that the Bryan brothers are hopefully about to win. It's a solid 2 weeks of amazing tennis with a little prep work. Talk a little bit about adjusting. Talk about the freedom to eat whatever you want. And then what did these guys eat every night? What did you guys do? You're in one of the biggest foodie capitals of the world.
Yeah, so this is probably the most popular story, and I'll get through it as quick as I can. There's a couple of really great points and themes to this. But this is one that I tell at all my speaking, whether it's corporate, whether it's the end of the year high school celebration that I get asked to speak at, or a podcast, or wherever it is, Cowboys Club at the Star. I literally tell this story because it's famous. It's awesome. But when I first flew out to California, this is 3 months before the French Open in 2003, and I fly out for a training week at their house at Sherwood Country Club because they have clay courts. It's my first practice. And we start doing some drills. Man, I'm on cloud nine. I'm coaching the Bryan brothers. They're about three in the world, but they hadn't won a slam. They hadn't finished number one, and they hadn't made the Davis Cup team yet. And that was their three goals, not only that year, but just in their career. And they've been out on the tour a few years, but basically I show up at Sherwood Country Club, and within a few minutes, I think Mike maybe mishits a ball and it lands short. They're kind of sparring with each other, and Bob comes up about 8 feet from each other. And I've got a bucket of balls. I'm feeding, I'm the coach. Yeah. And he rifles a ball, and it hits Mike right in the chest. And I've known these guys as far as I've been the coach for about 10 minutes. Mike, I'm like, okay, because I don't know them that well. I'd worked with Bob that week in singles and Joplin, but Mike takes a ball out of his pocket and starts running towards his side of the net and launches a ball over the head, like serve, at Bob, and it hits him in the calf. Well, Bob's pissed now, but he doesn't have any more tennis balls. So he takes his racket and he starts running at Mike with his racket. Mike takes off. I mean, imagine this, greatest team of all time, and it's my first practice. Bob launches the racket, boomerang style.
Helicopter, right.
It hits Mike in the back, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my God, what a terrible start. What am I going to say? They literally walked to the bench. That's where their water was. I'm kind of bouncing the ball. I have no idea what to say. So, of course, I just go, well, I feel like we're having a pretty productive practice so far. They start laughing. Then they looked at each other and they go, okay, Bob, what do you want to do now? You want to work on maybe some serve return, maybe some poaching, like as if nothing happened. And I remember being blown away at, yes, how quickly they erupted at each other, but then how quickly they flushed it and got rid of it.
Wow.
And really that was the essence to their consistency and their secret formula to their success. Because obviously playing with your brother, playing with the same partner since they were 3 years old, music together, traveling together, every meal together, every practice match, Davis Cup, Olympics. And so it's easy to get on each other's nerves. And they did an amazing job of blocking out the pressure, the distractions and everything, and consistently being able to perform and keep at the focus what they're trying to accomplish. And so fast forward to the French Open.
Yeah.
We lose first round at Rome, which was my first tournament with them, to Kafelnikov and Wayne Ferreira. Not a bad team.
Yep. We
go to Hamburg, which was the last warm-up tournament, and it was a Master Series tournament, and get to the semis and lose to Bupati Mirny. And they're playing better, but still kind of just not clicking. And we get to the French Open early, and we're playing a practice match against a team that's 80 in the world combined, and they lose the practice set. They're pissed at each other, pissed at themselves. Tournament starts in 2 days. I have no idea what really to say at this point. It's new. I'm still learning. And to me, they're taught so well growing up, like their form, their mirror image.
Oh yeah, the fundamentals. Yeah,
volley form. Excuse me. I mean, it's as good as you can teach on the technique. So in my mind, I was thinking, what's the biggest thing I can help them with right now, right before this slam? And it hit me. I need to make them feel as a coach that they can win it. They're good enough to win it. But even more important, I need to somehow figure out how I can get to them individually, because they're one unit. And that's what you have to realize. They're one unit. So you have to learn, but they're very different. How can I get them to work together to build each other up more than tear each other down? Because what I'm seeing is more negative than positive. So night before they start, I pulled Mike off to the side. I said, Mike, you're the best returner in doubles. And that's the truth. And he goes, yeah, I know. They're not. I said, but that's where your twin brother struggles.
he needs you.
And so whenever he misses, he feels your energy. Trust me. He feels the look. He feels the body language, the energy that you guys have as identical twins. I said, and he looks up to you because he knows you have the best returns in the world. So what I want you to do, I'm giving you the responsibility these next 2 weeks. At the top of the list, you build him up on return of serves. Mm-hmm. Every time he hits a good one, especially on a big point, I want you to go up, give him a high five, tap him on the back. Great job, bro. Make him feel like he's the best returner in the world, because that's his weakness. Mm. I go, that's your responsibility. And he goes, got it. I'm going to do it. So then I pull Bob off to the side at a separate time. And I go, Bob, you're the best server in the game, which was true. Lefty, 130. I go, but that's where your brother's hole is. That's where the weakness is. And we know that. He can feel your negative energy, double fault, or maybe not a big serve or a bad decision on where to serve. Your responsibility these next 2 weeks is to build Bob up. Every time, Mike up. Bob, your responsibility is to build Mike up. Every time he hits a good serve, pump him up. Make him feel like he's the best server on the court, even better than you. You got to be able to do that, especially big moments. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm on it. I'm going to do that. And so I said, guys, remember your responsibilities. Stick together. We kept talking about energy, pulling together, twin power. You together are powerful than any other doubles team, and you know each other better. But remember your individual responsibilities that I talked to y'all about. 2 weeks later, they didn't drop a set. They win the French Open. They didn't lose a set. Mike won the mixed with Lisa Raymond the day before. With that win, they became number one in the world because of the points. So they got their slam, became number one in the world. And in the locker room celebrating after, Patrick McEnroe comes in. He goes, boys, you're Grand Slam champions now. Congrats from the day. The dinner and celebration through the wee hours of the morning was something I'll never forget. It was an unbelievable moment sharing with those guys to be able to knock off their 3 goals, kind of in what we went through and leading up to that. And obviously their careers, what they've gone through, was a special moment to be a part of that. And the phone calls back to my family and friends, to Wayne and Kathy, and they had some family there and friends there as well. Their agent, John. It was phenomenal. It was incredible. And, I didn't really know how to technically help them. And at that point, I didn't know all the doubles teams. I scouted my butt off and, but I wanted to make it about what they needed to do to kind of overcome their fears. And it really was really about building each other up and giving them the responsibility to do it, not me. You're on the court, you're performing, you're the one that's got to get through those tough moments. And when that lack of confidence, or, hey, maybe are we good enough to do it? Yes, you are, but you got to make each other feel like it. And they did that with returns and serves. Other than that, we worked a lot on being more aggressive with their size and their reach. 6'4", twins, and what people don't realize is growing up, juniors, and even the first couple years of college, guys, they were very thin and they were short compared to their competitors. They didn't really start growing until sophomore, junior year of college at Stanford, believe it or not.
Yeah, I remember when they were about 6 feet or 5'11", when they were freshmen at Stanford, and they really grew. And, of course, Dick Gould had them step up was the word he used constantly, like 50 times a practice. And they would become not just ground stroke guys, but machines at the net, like you said, wingspan.
Yeah, and if you ever see old pictures of them in their USA tennis outfits or maybe junior pictures, everybody's way taller. And it hit me, right before the French as well, from a strategic standpoint. These guys have been relying on defensive doubles, which they're unbelievable at. Mm-hmm. They make you play so many balls, unbelievable lobs. They grind. They make you have to win it, and they make a lot of teams make mistakes. And I was good with a portion of that, but you almost carried that mentality over now that you're 6'4" into your pro career. Well, now, guys, you're 6'4", you're strong, you're big, your wingspan. Let's play more offensive doubles, be more imposing, more poaching, more taking over the middle, more at least the mentality of looking for taking over the net. And they did a great job of that as well. So, if you watch their highlight reels, man, they're all over. They're literally that far from the net, and they're always in the middle, which is where most, over 70% of the balls go in tennis. So they knew it was coming there, and they were going to be there. And they weren't afraid to get beat down the line. That's big for all you doubles players out there, even at the club level, high school level, whatever level, junior, pro. You got to be okay with getting burned down the line. It's a very, very risky shot for people to try, and most of the shots are safe, especially in big moments. People are going to go comfort zone. They're going to go through the middle. Yeah. So you got to have the risk and have the guts to go after it and not be burned about what if I get burned down the line. What if I miss the poke? You got to be all committed, all in.
Good use of data there. But get back to the food in Paris.
Oh, gosh, yes. Sorry. So to finish up Paris, great story.
Yeah.
We get there early training, as I said. Okay, so we're there. We know we're going to be there 3 weeks, right? It's a 2-week slam. And we stayed at this off hotel, and it was further away than most of the other ones. Pierre de Vacances, I'll never forget it. Well, walking distance, there wasn't around a lot of restaurants around the area. There was a Chinese, kind of authentic Chinese restaurant around the corner. So we go there, we get the dumplings, we get a chicken dish, we get this dish. So we go back. It was so good. We go back the next couple nights. Then the tournament started, and they won. Well, most tennis players are very superstitious, and they had some superstitions for sure. Well, we go back, and they play unbelievable in practice the next day, so we go back again. We're on like days 5 or 6. Wow. Well, then they win again and beat like Grosjean and Clement 2-2.
Not bad. Hometown boys, French guys.
And so we go back again. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you that the night it ended the streak before the finals, because after the finals, we went somewhere else. 21 straight nights at dinner at this Chinese restaurant. 21 straight nights.
They got to know you pretty well. They got to know you.
Same order, same drinks.
Same.
Yeah, it was water or green tea or Coke or whatever, but same meal, same dumplings, same. About the last 6 days, we literally had to just push it down. We were so tired of it, but we couldn't stop. They were playing so good. They weren't losing a set. They felt better than they have felt.
Never change on the streak. You never change.
So Chinese food is part of the coaching.
That's it.
In a way, or the routine, the mojo, the momentum.
Yeah,
right?
Hey, when you have players that are believing in it like that, you just keep it rolling. Don't change it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, speaking of keeping it rolling, we have got to get to the second set. Craig, who are we rolling with? Who's the sponsor in the second set?
That would be the great Blair Descaret of Master Systems. He's listed down below. Blair is one of the best court builders, best resurfacers, best anybody. That if you need a court, a tennis court, any type of sport court, pickleball court, see our good buddy Blair Descaret with Master Systems. You can type in Master Systems
Good stuff.
courts, and you can Google that, and it'll come up. And reach out to our buddy Blair Descaret, who I know Phil knows pretty well too.
Yeah, that's right. Craig, that was the best ad read in the business. We didn't even have to say swipe up, enter promo code at the net. We didn't have to do any of that. It was just smooth. You're the best.
Oh, that was one take. That's one take. That's why I call CB1 one take. Craig Bell.
Hey, you guys, I'm impressed. I've been on a few of these. And you guys got a good little connection, a little good vibe going.
You're a huge part of that, Philip. So thank you. Let's get to set 2, shall we?
Well, let's go.
In set 2, we like to talk about current and future projects. We've had obviously a great time, and I've learned a lot just thinking about some of your recent projects. But talk about what you're doing currently. Talk about some of my favorites locally: Mitchell Kruger, Hans Hotch. I love these guys. We're going to have Hans on the show.
Did you say Hotch?
I usually say Hach, but I believe it's Hotch, right?
Hotch? Is it Hotch? Okay. I like Hotch.
That's a great. Hey, we got to find that out. I'm his coach, and I don't even know if I know. I always say Hach.
Hach, because his first name is Hans, and it sounds very German, so I'm going to say Hach. But he's from Mexico,
right?
So in Spanish, you would say Hotch.
Yeah.
So we got to figure it out once and for all.
He's got a lot going on there.
He does. He's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I do still work with Hans when he's in town. He's done a great job. We've been together a couple of years and came up with a strategy of focusing on doubles. And that was a hard thing to talk about because it was basically, instead of looking at giving up on singles, I talked about putting more into the tank of doubles. And let's see where we can go with it and get top 100. Because he had floated around 180 or 200 for many years. And I felt like if he focused on the doubles, then he could get that inside the top 100. And he's now stayed at about 120, and then COVID hit. And so it's been hard for him to get to tournaments, and challengers have canceled. And he's not quite high enough to consistently get into slams, which is tough in the Masters. Yeah. He did make his first slam at the U.S. Open a couple years ago, which was really cool.
That's huge.
And he played a team that ended up getting to the finals. And I'm blanking on the name right now. Tall Brazilian guy.
Is it Melo?
Thank you.
It is. Okay.
Melo and Kubo.
Yep. Lukasz Kubot and Marcelo Melo. Yeah.
I knew you could help me with that one. Good job.
He knows everything. He's a walking encyclopedia of tennis knowledge. He pulls stuff out of the air all the time. I'm sitting there going.
So it was great. I was there to see him play in his first Grand Slam match. He's a great player. I feel like he does have the potential for top 100 and even top 50.
Oh yeah.
It's not easy. There's so many great players out there and great singles players that are also playing doubles. So the cutoffs are tough, and getting partners and stable partners and keeping it going and getting that camaraderie and that twin power, if you will, is not easy nowadays. But he's extremely diligent with his training, and he's open to trying new things on the court, and really, really great listener and great student. And it's been a fun challenge, and we're making progress. Like I said, he's been floating around 120 after spending many years around 200. So we feel like we're making some good strides. And hopefully as the tournaments open up, they've set rules in place that help players, that protective, spots and rankings and things like that. So I work with him. I work with a handful of players. I still help out a little bit at the Lakes Tennis Academy that I've been based out of really since it opened in '99. A lot of great pros there, and my buddy Nick Johnson, the owner, owns that. But decided as you said earlier, got married in Mexico.
Congrats!
We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. Thank you. And so it's been great year of marriage. Married a tennis player, played at Oklahoma State. And but Natalia is my wife, and it helps that she was a top player with Azarenka growing up in Belarus. She's Belarusian, and came over here when she was 18 to play college tennis and get her degree at Oklahoma State with my good buddy Chris Young. And so even though I'm a Sooner till the day I die, I still support Oklahoma State because Chris Young and because she played there as well. In the front of our house, we have those little decor rocks, and I had an OU one, so I had to get her the OSU one. So now we have both if people walk up. But
is there any bedlam? Is there any bedlam that goes on between the two, or do you all just?
You guys,
do you go to different rooms?
We win most of those at OU. So
I know Nat's on the other. She's watching, so she might. There might be something coming flying across. You better watch out.
Yeah. I don't know if she can hear me here in the office, but
okay.
She's watching. I've been talking to her.
So I had, I'd been a director at Stonebridge Ranch Country Club for about 7 years. And I'd been a head pro at the Lakes Tennis Academy. I've been a pro for Keith at the Met, and I've run junior programs. I've kind of been on my own out of the back of my car teaching tennis at public places. And so I've been on the tour, and, I just got to a point where I wanted to coach privately. So when I got back with Bob and Mike to coach them for the 2017 year and got back to the Australian Open final, which was awesome, and had some close family friends that came and made the journey. I started, I wanted to stay privately. I really didn't want to get back into either a big group setting. I think my niche is helping players that have a base and helping them kind of get to that next level, especially at the pro level, which I spent most of my career at. And so helped the local family out, the Aaron family that I'm real close with, Reed Aaron, and coached him for a couple years privately. It was a great situation, and I really learned a lot from that as well. I'd been with pros one-on-one most of my life, and so to be with a 13, 14, 15-year-old boy and becoming a man was just a different challenge. And so when we decided to kind of go our separate ways, I kind of felt it in my heart at that point. I either wanted to go back on the tour and coaching, which is what I was really passionate about. And my goal is really to try to coach another Grand Slam at some point. And so a player to win a Grand Slam. And so I was either going to go back on the tour, but that meant about 35, 37 weeks, which is what I was averaging for 20 years, 37 weeks on the road. Mm. So, fellas, I don't think that's a great recipe for a start to a marriage. And so I decided to kind of venture out and reach out to some of my friends and contacts that own businesses and look into the business world. And so I'm also doing that. I'm doing some business development and sales for a buddy of mine, a company called QUS, and I'm doing some utility management solution sales. And then I'm working for another buddy of mine, John Montero, who has 4 daughters that plays out of the Lakes.
Wow.
And doing some multifamily investing. So I'm doing some consulting for him, and really enjoying the different challenges that it brings. I'm still doing speaking. Love getting on podcasts like this. I'd like to write a book, tennis book at some point as well. So, kind of mixing it up a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to get into the speaking of current and future projects, when you're working, whether it's business, clients, speaking, which I know we've enjoyed some of your speaking engagements for USPTA Texas.
Absolutely.
Or I think you and I have both spoken for a university, and I know they loved hearing, a college team that is, hearing what you're saying. I want to talk about some of the themes that might be in tennis, might be in business, or they might be in both. Things like Flush It, which is something you mentioned earlier a couple times. Talk a little bit about Flush It, and then maybe we can get into overcoming failure. Maybe we can get into looking through the lens of your player, your customer, your client, your boss. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's start with Flush It, though.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with coaching pros at a young age, and obviously didn't have a ton of experience. You only get experience by getting experience and going through it, right? I thought back to how Keith helped me a lot with my game. And it was, he's kind of like Phil Jackson. He's that Zen master that, you miss a shot and he's talking about some story and some other thing and skiing, and you're like, what in the world? But then you look back a few months and you're like, it clicked. I got it. So one thing that always motivated me to kind of stand out and be an elite coach was to try to find ways to get information to players in a different way. Mm-hmm. So, for example, instead of telling a player, hey, bend your knees, that they've heard probably a million times at 17 years old since they were 3 playing tennis, you know, I would overhear stuff and take things from Patrick McEnroe Davis Cup, where I remember him telling Bob and Mike, hey, sit in the kindergarten chair, or sit in the chair on your returns. And I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, get your legs down, get your butt down, and get your balance. So then I would start telling my players, hey, imagine you're sitting in a kindergarten or a second grade chair. And I would tell this to a 24-year-old guy or
who's 6 feet or more, in height.
And, you know, just hearing things. Brad Gilbert did it when I was coaching Sam Querrey, and he was not ripping that big forehand in the middle of the court. And he pulled us in, and he goes, Sam, have you ever played golf? And I'm thinking, what?
Where are we going with this one?
Yeah, and Sam's upset because he's missed some easy forehands that he wasn't just crushing. And Sam goes, yeah, I play golf. And he goes, well, pull out the freaking driver and crush this ball. What are you doing pulling out a wedge? And it became a golf conversation. Uh-huh. But Sam liked to hit the golf ball, and it clicked. It was something different rather than, hey, rip the forehand when you get a chance. Well, there's nerves involved. There's fear. There's frustration. Maybe he's not feeling good on the forehand. But if you put your goal or your mind on something that accomplishes that goal or that process in a different way, now your mind's not thinking about the pressure, the misses, the failed opportunities, or the what ifs. And so my mind became, each year on the tour, and especially with Bob and Mike, who were so technically sound, it became very much circled around the mental side of the game, dealing with failure, how to pump each other up, how vital that is, how powerful that is. And so I had heard the saying of a speaker one time talked about just in life, we got to flush it. Think of a commode. You got to flush it to get rid of, what's in there. So I'm like, that's kind of crazy, but I'm going to use that. And it's great at the illustration. Once again, the visual and the conceptual aspect of it, of, hey, this point, the value of the point is 1, no matter what stage and what it's at. It might hurt more on a match point, but it's still 1 point. We got to learn as athletes and as tennis players to get rid of that emotion, that negative emotion. And one way is by telling them to flush it, because you literally, by those words, it's so easy to think about, just get rid of it. It's gone.
It is. It's a powerful image.
It gives you an action statement that you can build off of, instead of going, hey, Craig, don't worry about it, next point. And again, all those are good. And there's great books on going to your strings and going back to the towel and telling yourself 4 positive things. Those are all good and important. But again, I always tried to be very original and very different, and give the illustration maybe a different way and different avenue to travel and that information to the player. And so the flush it just became something that I would tell my players to give them that different look of how to move forward and move on.
You said that one smelled. Let's just go.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
Just flush it. That's a smelly point.
Yeah, it's catchy, it's funny, it's quick, it's a verb, it's action, and it's visceral. It's important, because rarely does somebody not want to flush it when they're in front of a toilet.
I wish I would have learned that a long time ago when I was a kid, because I didn't flush it ever. I was, I helicoptered a few rackets in my day. Yeah, they didn't hit anybody, fortunately.
And you guys will probably even use that now in your daily lives.
Sure thing.
Work, relationships, competing, pickleball, whatever. Yeah. We can all use that, in really any industry. We all have bad days at work, or, you didn't get that promotion, or, maybe you got let go. I mean, whatever the case is, we've got to learn to build each other up. As I talked about in that speech before the French Open, we got to build our coworkers up. we got to do a better job as leaders and managers to build up our employees and our coworkers. And then we also got to have the ability with our teams and individually to be able to flush the negative and move forward to focus on kind of what's ahead of us.
Can we flush some people out as well? I want to put some people in there and flush them,
Hey,
not just points, people too.
Sometimes you need to.
Hey, let's move to a great saying that you talked about earlier, is looking through the lens of your player, of your client, of your sales associate.
Yeah, as I told you before, I'm extremely passionate about coaching and whatever theme it is, and really tennis, pickleball, business.
Anyway.
I love coaching, and a big part of that is listening and learning. So I would listen to Phil Jackson or Popovich interviews, any sport, tennis interviews. And one thing, again, Brad Gilbert said a long time ago was, especially for players like him that were on the tour and top 5 in the world, it's very difficult to make that transition to a coach because it was all about you.
Yeah.
And you're looking through your lens. Well, I wasn't that great of a player. I wasn't a top ranked world player. I was, a solid college player, but, so I didn't really have that experience or that lens, but I felt it was really valuable. And it really hit me that when we coach, are we really coaching based on what they're going through and what they're dealing with? Or are we coaching just what we think? And if we're coaching with just what, and that's why I've always really loved the more intimate coaching. More of my coaching has been 1 or 2 players, 3 players. And I've always thrived on that. And I feel like me personally, I'm just better when I'm in that atmosphere. You got guys, at T-Bar M and Brookhaven and High Point and Dave Licker at the Lakes and those great pros, Greg and Dane and all those guys. And that's one niche where you have 50 players you're trying to make great, you got peewees and you got 70 kids coming through and you're trying to teach them the right technique. There's a coach and a time and a place for each developmental stage and niche. And because mine started so early with dealing with the pros and the mental side of it, I always tried to keep myself in that lane. And so I would learn from those coaches. And Brad said, hey, I am going to be more valuable if I look through Roddick's lens or Andy Murray's lens, or Agassi's lens, and try to get an understanding of what pressures they're feeling, what they're going through, whether it's mental fatigue or an injury or just they got the yips or they just lack confidence. And that becomes really important in determining the player's schedule, determining their rest time, their training, all that. And so I love to coach others now on, hey, make sure you're also understanding your player and their individual lens, because player to player, as you guys know, at every level, they're thinking different thoughts, different strengths, different upbringings. I mean, look at Bob and Mike, who are identical twins, and they're completely different people. Okay. I mean, Bob's big forehand, big serve,
lefty, whole different brain,
big power.
Yeah.
Mike, technician, touch, great returns, great backhand. I mean, they just combined perfectly, but you had to treat them differently as well and look through each individual lens as well as the team to understand how to get them to a better place. So I just found that really valuable. I
love that response. Thank you. Let's get away from the lens of the player, but let's talk a little bit about analytics, which are maybe those are things that they don't know, but Coach, So let's talk a little bit about how you use analytics, and maybe you can talk a little bit about 55 versus 45. That's one of the points you've made in some presentations.
Yeah, no, I kind of got into the analytics, and tennis have become very, very popular the last few years. The ATP's using it, some different guys, and one guy, good friend of mine, Craig O'Shaughnessy, that, as you guys know, Craig, he got into the brain game and the analytical side of tennis. And I do like some of that. And so Craig had kind of brought up some cool stats, and I took those stats, and my brain always goes a different direction.
Good. Nothing wrong with that.
You guys are going to love this. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. So again, this is another popular theme that I like to speak about, because this can apply to tennis, any sport, and really any career, and I'll get to that. But it's the 55 versus 45% rule. Okay. And so you guys will be my audience, right?
Good.
How many players are on a doubles court playing a match?
4.
Okay. Good job so far. How many players at every given moment are hitting a tennis ball?
Only 1.
Yep, I think so.
Okay. And so every time a ball's hit, 1 player's hitting it. So therefore, how many players are not hitting?
3 aren't with the ball.
Right.
Okay.
I'm from Oklahoma. That's pretty good.
So I started looking at that, and most people, look at that and they go, oh my gosh, that's crazy that, it's, 3 players and 1 player. And I go, yeah, but think about the percentages. That means 75% of the time on a doubles court, you're not hitting a ball. So what you're doing without the ball is actually a huge value to the 25% of the time, again, approximate, when you do have the ball. Well, then I took it to singles. I hit, you hit, I hit, you hit. I'm hitting the ball 50% of the time. So you're telling me half the time, guys, half the time in singles you're not even hitting? That is a ton of time. What are we doing? What are we working on? What are we thinking? Are we thinking about patterns and knowing tendencies based on their positioning? Are we thinking about weaker sides or weaker spots that they don't like to hit? There's so much to think about, and we don't want to train our players to overthink things in tennis, because you want to be somewhat reactive. But tennis is a thinking sport. There's a lot of strategy to it in singles, obviously doubles, and so it got me thinking about the strategy and the time. Well, then I hear the 55 versus 45, and I'm like, the 55 versus 45 percentage is, they did a study, and I believe it was 2015, Djokovic dominated the year. He finaled every slam. He won 3 out of 4 slams. The only one he lost, I believe, was at the French to Wawrinka.
Stan, yeah, that's right, 15.
Dominated the year, finished one by a landslide. And the stats came out that his winning percentage was 55%.
It's 89% of matches, but the points, we're talking about 50 what? Say that again?
Total points. If you take the total points in each match and then average that out that year, he was 55%.
Wow.
Okay. So then a stat came out a couple years ago that I keep in my phone in my favorites, and I'll send you guys, but it just shows all like 10 players, and the top 3, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, they all happen to be 55% for their career.
Crazy.
So I took it a step further, and most people will be like, I cannot believe it's 55. These are the best players in history.
Anybody with half a brain, you're thinking it's 80 or 70 or something.
Yeah. So when I do my speeches, I ask that first, and most people go 70, 80. But here's the thing I think that a lot of people don't look at, that I chose to look a different direction. Mm-hmm. I was blown away at the 45. Because if you take 55%, well, that means they're losing 45% of their points. How in the world are they dominating, staying mentally solid, consistent at the highest level with the competition where it's as high as it's been, international, Serbia, everywhere now, and you're telling me they're losing 45% of their points on average, and they're still getting to every Grand Slam semi and every final and winning 17, 18, 20 Grand Slams? I don't get it. How are they able to do that knowing that they're losing 45%? That's a lot of points that they're having to process and deal with and flush. And I'm like, that's what makes them great. that's what makes the Bryan brothers great. It's those margins are small, and on the big points, they're not thinking about the 45%.
No,
they're confident thinking about, all I got to do is be 50% or higher, 52, 53, 55%. And by executing and knowing that if I poach, I just need to win 55% of the time.
And if I get burned down the line every now and then,
there it is.
It's good.
If
it's
you
okay.
can understand that, then see how, guys, it's kind of all flowing together now. Now you can flush things easier. How do I flush that double fault?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say it. Hey, just flush it, Sam. Well, I can flush it if I've been trained mentally, not just training the forehand, not just training a drop shot or the approach shot volley combo. We got to train our mind, and we got to give examples and stories like flush it, like, hey, 55 versus 45, like moving without the ball, 75% of the time you don't have the ball. So it helps players understand their role on the court and why the movement is so important in the anticipation, because 75% of the time you don't have the ball. Why the 45% is so important, because if you can deal with losing that many points and consistently still win enough matches, guys, tennis is such it's not a perfect sport. We know that. You're going to make errors. And if you can make errors and control them and understand how to process them and what bank and database to put them in, that was a great serve I hit. I just missed it a little bit wide. Okay, put that in my 45%.
Yeah.
I have a pot of 45% that I can make, that I can lose points. So I can make errors. They can get lucky. I can get cheated. They can hit great shots. And I'm still fine if I get the other percentage. So if the guy on match point in the second set rips a backhand down the line, that's a 45%. And now I'm in the third set. I can emotionally deal with that now and learn how to process that better and more consistently, because I've been able to understand the difference in what pot that can go in, and I'm still fine. So
that's healthy. That's emotionally healthy. Forget sports. That's health for life. That's everything.
Yep.
So I think.
And think about this. Yeah. So then let me take it a step further.
Good. Okay.
One of the greatest 3-point shooters that we're seeing right now, and it'll probably go down as the greatest, plays for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Who's
amazing?
that?
Steph Curry, right?
Thank you. Good job again. Okay, so let's take. You say, well, that's tennis, and it's the 3 best players in the world. Okay. Let's see what the best are doing to stay on top.
What's he doing?
What is his, this may have changed last time I looked it up. What is his current average 3-point shooting percentage?
What do you think, CB?
It's like 43% or something. It's pretty high, I think. He's getting closer.
38%, 38 to 40%, which is high, right?
Right.
That's for the greatest shooter. That means, let's look at that. That means every 10 3-pointers he shoots, he's missing 6.
Yeah,
he's okay with that.
He's making 3.8, almost 4.
He's making almost 4, and he doesn't know when those are going to miss. And like, if you shoot 10, it could be the first 4 he misses, and then he makes 4, and then he misses the last. It could be, we don't know what that cycle is, right? But it doesn't matter with a guy like that, because he's trained his mind to not be emotional about it and to understand the percentages in the big picture, that all I really need to do to help my team win and to be successful is 38%. So if I come out of the gate in the playoffs against the Cavs and I miss the first 3, hey, what does he still do? He gets it and he shoots it. Let's take a Hall of Fame baseball batting average, Hall of Fame MLB batting average.
300, 380, 390, right in there?
300s.
300s. Somewhere in the 300s, yeah.
If you're in the 300s, you're a phenomenal hitter. Okay? Well, let's look at that percentage. That means every 3 times you come up to bat, you are going to fail the majority again, 2 out of 3. You're only succeeding at 300, 1 out of 3. So how do you deal with the failure to get to the success? That's the key. And if you look at tennis, 55-45. Steph Curry, 38%. Hall of Fame baseball batter, 300. He's failing 2 out of 3 times, but he still has the confidence to come up that 3rd time and hit the game-winning home run or hit the double for the winner. To me, that's what makes them great champions, and we need to understand that as coaches and as leaders to, again, motivate our players and help them understand how to cope with it and how to be able to succeed and succeed more consistently. And guys, the most beautiful part about that example right there is we can take this, as I do in my speaking. We can, whether it's LSU women's team I did with my good buddy Mike Sell, or North Texas, or whoever, or telling Bob and Mike or Sam or whoever it is, Karina, we can take this. Can I not take this to Toyota and speak to all their sales reps that are out there selling cars? How many no's do they get told every day?
It's
10, 15?
Yeah, it's
but
more.
If they sell one car that day, don't you think it's pretty big commission or a good success story? But they're told 14 no's, but they just need one. Well, what about real estate agents? You know, it's really tough to make it past the first year. You're told no. Hey, can I help you with your house? Well, I've already got somebody. Financial advisor. Hey, can I help you with your money? No, I already got somebody. No. You hear more no's in those fields than you do yeses. But when you get the yes, they're extremely valuable and they're highlighted, and you can be extremely successful by achieving the minority of the percentage.
We're speaking with clinical psychologist Dr. Philip Farmer. Philip, this is great stuff. I'm telling you,
you can tell I'm very passionate.
Oh my goodness,
I love it, man. This is great.
He's done some studies on this stuff.
That was beautiful perspective and inspiring for all of us. And I think it's time. Let's go third set, pal. What do you think, CB?
Oh, we could do that anytime. Yeah, I mean,
I can go on. I mean, that like I said, that's my most popular theme that I can speak across any forum, any platform. In fact, in the speaking that I'm be doing in the future, I'm teaming up with a guy, Bradley, with the Collective. And we're going to be looking to take that to a lot of different venues and places to get that message across. He loves it. So
good stuff, Phil.
Pretty pumped about it.
Well, this is Dr. Phil too. We didn't know you have more hair than the other Dr. Phil, and you're a lot nicer.
For now. But,
can you analyze us too?
He's still got the Stefan Edberg hair. Look at him. He's looking great.
So far, so good. So far, so good. But yeah, to finish on that, I'm just extremely passionate. I love helping people. And to be able to have a couple of themes that can transfer across sports and transfer from a college player to a beginner. I've worked with hockey players. I've worked with basketball, high school students, obviously professional tennis players, TCD teams that have brought me in to work on some of these. It's very valuable. And now I want to take that to other corporations and other professions, as I mentioned, to help those people as well, and a lot of great stuff to take from that.
Fantastic future projects for you.
One last question before we start the third set.
Yes.
Rick Eckloff, what's your tennis book going to be about? I think I kind of know, but can you share any insights about your book that maybe you're thinking about?
What my vision is, and I'm open for suggestions, but my vision is the chapters would be based off different experiences or themes, if you will. So one might be the story of the bet. One might be how I got the job with the Bryan brothers, or the experience of what I told them, or how I felt like I helped them and kind of turning the corner, if you will. Another is going to be the 55 versus 45. The flush it could be another chapter. So my goal would be to try to get some of these themes across in kind of a tell-all book about how Phil's crazy mind works. And I was fortunate, probably 6 or 8 years ago, Greg Levine wrote a book, Mental Toughness 101, and he did it based on an interview style, so that it's a question and answer in the book, and each chapter is a coach. And Luke Jensen's in there, and I was fortunate that I was one of the 7 coaches that got to be interviewed and have my thoughts, if you will, on the Mental Toughness 101 book. So something similar to that, that's probably along the mental side, but kind of spread it across some stories, themes, funny,
that Q&A format and the chapters that you're talking about, that's a really fun way to read it, and as guys who write also, it's a fun way to write it too.
Yeah.
It's almost like a play or a dialogue,
We need
or a podcast.
We need plenty of pictures too. For people like me who don't read so
I
well.
got some good pictures. Yeah,
some good pictures. Okay.
For people like me who don't read good, I believe is the proper English there.
Yeah, that's right. We don't. Oklahoma, we never read. We like pictures. If you got pictures, that's pictures worth 1,000 words, as they say.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Third set. Here we go. Rock and roll time. Come on, Phil. Let's roll that dice. First band you saw in concert. First band Phil Farmer saw in concert.
Just talked about this the other day with some friends. Took a limo with my sister and her friend. She's 2.5 years older to Dallas. Bon Jovi.
Oh no! Down at the Reunion Arena, probably.
Probably yes.
Yes. Wow, man, Bon Jovi. Did you get? Was it birthday?
And my favorite song of the night, even though I know for some of the PR on the podcast, "Living on a Prayer," but my favorite song of the night that night was "Wanted Dead or Alive."
That brings down the house.
I love that right when they start out there. That's such a great.
That never gets old, does it?
Oh, never. Did you go backstage or anything like that? Did you have any morsels?
No, I didn't have many connections back then, but now one of my favorite bands, Maroon 5. I'm good friends with James Valentine, the guitarist, who's a very good tennis player, and try to connect with him in California when he's in town for concert. We normally get together, hit some balls, and I've been able to go backstage and meet the band, and was able to meet the drummer from Dave Matthews Band, Boyd Tinsley. Loves tennis as well. It's amazing how many artists really, really love watching tennis and following tennis. So I've been fortunate to go to a few backstages. So
well, we're going to dive into those further. We want to know some more juicy stories. That's about some. I'm sure there's probably some good ones. We had Fred Bianco tell us about Freddie V and his Cotton Bowl experience. That was pretty
Bruce
funny.
Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen. That was pretty funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Freddie V's my guy. I like him, and great guy, and he USPTA. He actually helped me get a marketing job back in Houston when I was looking to kind of do some other things, and gave me a great perspective of how much I did love coaching back at that point. But now he's a great guy, and he's being on the ATP tour for as long as he did, he probably has some awesome stories as well.
Yeah.
So.
He had a really great story about going backstage, and it was funny how he got to backstage.
Yeah, he was a security guard who wasn't doing his job.
Right. Basically faked it till he made it, and he got backstage, and it was pretty entertaining. If you could hear a band in concert, what band would you like to hear? Probably. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of bands. Is there one that maybe that you've missed that, like Tom Petty? Tom isn't going to come around anymore, unfortunately. I like Tom Petty, and I would love to have heard him.
Yeah, man, good question. I'd probably have to say I wish I would have gone and seen Michael Jackson or Prince.
Oh, yeah. Two good ones right there. Boy, those guys are great entertainers.
Yeah, I'm bummed I didn't get a chance to do that, but excuse me. I've been to some great concerts.
Where's your favorite venue? Where's your favorite venue then? Where do you like to see? Red Rocks? Have you ever been to Colorado? Have you ever been up there?
I haven't, but one of my favorite videos of One Republic, Somebody to Love, if you look that up, Somebody to Love, One Republic at Red Rock. Unbelievable. So that is definitely on my to-do list, is to go see a concert there. Man, what's the who do we see? We saw Maroon 5 with the Bryan Brothers, and it was at the Hollywood Bowl.
In Griffith Park, kind of Los Angeles, West Los Angeles. Yeah. Yes,
and that was a really cool venue to see those guys perform, and so. I don't mind going to more of an intimate, one of my favorite bands called The Script, back to the other song.
Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's a great track.
I saw them at the House of Blues. And so, those guys are playing in, American Airlines now. And so it's cool to see some of these bands that came through or are coming through that, you can get them in a little bit more intimate setting. So.
Favorite band, is it Bon Jovi?
No.
Oh, okay.
I would probably, I'd probably say Maroon 5, Imagine Dragons, unbelievable performers, and Pink.
You say Pink? Pink, yes.
Pink, unbelievable.
Really?
Unbelievable in concert.
That's not one we've ever had on the podcast. I think, we've done 81 of these, and Pink has never hit the airwaves for us. So
and one of my oldie but goodies for maybe some of the older listeners is one of my favorites is Mark Cohn, Cohn, Walking in Memphis. Some classics there. He's a great artist too. But so I like all music, and I just like going to hear it live, to be honest with you, whatever genre it is or style, from country to jazz to rap to, classic, whatever. I love live music.
Yeah.
South by Southwest, have you ever been down there in Austin? You ever been to
You know what? I haven't been to that yet, but I that's another one on the list. I definitely hear a lot about it and hear it's really awesome.
We're going to fire up the ATNP station wagon so you can join us.
Hey,
we got the wood paneling on
the
there.
invite from you guys. I'm in.
We're going to go to Red Rocks too. We're going to drive. We're going to take that summer trip because COVID's over and we're all going to go.
COVID's over. You heard it here first,
it's
folks.
Over. It's over.
Yeah, just go ahead and put me down for 2 tickets. Count me and the wife in. We love it. So
that's sweet.
All right. So if you're in a band, okay, and this is where we're working back to the tambourine player, but the lead singer, lead guitarist, drummer, keyboards, or bass guitarist. If I know you said you didn't really play an instrument, but where would you be in the lineup? Let's say if you theoretically or could potentially play in a band, where would you be? Where would you want to be?
Whew.
We ask good questions here, Phil. We're not a bunch of pretty faces, We have substance.
So what role would I have?
Yes. Would you be like Mick Jagger? Would you be John Bon Jovi out there, in the leather pants, kind of?
I think I'd have to be on the mic.
I knew it. Yes.
I actually can sing a couple songs decent, karaoke, but I would probably be on the mic. And my second choice, when Bob Mike were teaching me, I really did like the drums. It's very challenging, but I had a great time learning it, and playing it is pretty cool too. But I like to talk, as you can tell, so I like being on the mic. Give me that mic. Give me front stage. I want the energy.
Yeah, I can see you being a front man. That's where I thought you would be.
I can get the crowd going. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, bring
I
them.
may not have a great voice, but I can get the crowd going.
So are you in leather pants, that kind of thing? Are you going full leather?
I'll bring out my Michael Jackson red leather jacket, my parachute pants. Oh, yeah.
All right, Natalie.
I'll have my tennis wristbands on.
Yeah.
I love it.
Natalie, now you know what to do for Halloween for Phil next Halloween. So.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to be a front man. All right, first paid gig. What'd you do, like a little nipper when you were growing up? Did you have paper route? Were you a lawn guy? Or did you work in the pro shop with Chrisman over at Los Rios?
Yeah, you know what? I did help a buddy of mine with the paper route. It's kind of weird thinking about that now. So that, never really liked mowing the lawn, so I tried to stay away from that. That's too hard.
Right.
And you guys will remember this. I did string some rackets at Los Rios for Keith and Andy and those guys there, but I would drive over, and I believe it was Park and Preston, because it seemed like a haul from the east side, which now, 30 years later, it's not that bad. But I would string rackets on a regular basis, a few days a week, for Sun and Ski Tennis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Sun and Ski. I forgot about
tennis.
that.
Was that it, Sun and Ski? Am I saying that right? You remember it was in that that shopping center?
Mm-hmm. Seems like it. You're right.
And it was a lady owner. I want to say her name was Lynn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I got the job stringing rackets. I don't even remember what they paid me, maybe $6 a racket, or I don't even know, $5. And so that was kind of one of my first consistent jobs, paychecks.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's most people that we've talked with, they all have a job. It's really interesting to see how people have really kind of, I wouldn't say struggle, but they've started down at the low part of life and then they've worked their way up.
Even pro athletes, all the successful people we've talked to, it's some humble, cool little job.
Slapping burgers at McDonald's or someplace. They're doing something. Now, most of them didn't have to mow grass. That's the one thing I think that we're in agreement right there. That was not going to be anything that Craig Bell wanted to be a part of. So that's
what's kind of interesting to your point, guys. Looking back, is like I was starting out doing something that I had a passion for, and if you're fortunate to kind of let those worlds meet to where you're getting what you need to pay wise, but you're also passionate about it. Man, that's what a true blessing and gift. And with the coaching I've been able to do, and man, I had an absolute blast. And to now the next phase to still, I'm doing more speaking now and presenting, if you will, and some, a little bit of coaching, but more speaking now, off court stuff. And then again, the business development and the multifamily investing, man, I'm loving it. And it just each day I wake up and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to do some different things and to do things that I enjoy and that I'm really driven to succeed in. It is nice to have that. And it's kind of cool looking back that it's how I started. So
to make our avocations our vocations, we've been very lucky. I think the three of us will say that whatever our career path has been, we've been extremely fortunate, grateful for just to be able to hit a ball over the net, sometimes better than a few people, not as good as others, but to be able to make a true vocation out of this has been really unbelievable.
Totally blessed.
And really, most of my contacts and opportunities stem from tennis, through tennis somehow. And, my college friends, my high school friends that I'm still close with, my best friends now in the area through Lakes, through tennis, you guys, Craig, you and I have gotten together several times for dinner, for barbecue, for our famous barbecue lunches at different places. And what are the conversations really, the majority of time, they still stem around tennis. We love to talk about it. We love to analyze it. And we love to hear how you're doing. And hey, what are some new projects, or what are we, what's out there? Whatever it is, it's still about, the directors group, where you get together. It stems around tennis. And that's awesome because we have that all in common.
That's truly the great game, and I think your other half over there, you wouldn't have met her if it wouldn't have been for tennis.
That's right, Natalia through tennis.
Right. I know it's amazing how this world works, and the great game is truly great for each of us. That we've been truly blessed with the opportunity to be a part of this thing. In this,
shout out to tennis and Uncle. I call him Uncle Oscar Gonzalez and Uncle Gene Park. If it wasn't for them, and I maybe would not have met my sweet wife. So. Very fortunate.
Favorite movie, TV show? What do you watch? Do you like movies? Do you go to TV shows? So what's Phil Farmer watching? Can you turn on Netflix? Because I can't turn on Netflix.
I'll tell you my favorite show, Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, yes.
Oh man, I do like Ozark. And the one that you got to watch, and it's kind of goes more with what my career has been and kind of the way I am with Flush It and positivity and building people up, is Ted Lasso. You got to watch Ted Lasso.
Okay. Ted Lasso. I don't know. What's Ted about? Just give us a brief synopsis.
A guy that gets brought over with not much coaching experience or soccer, and he's a soccer, or as they call it in Europe, football coach for one of the top London teams.
Okay.
And it is heartwarming, hilarious, and the first season's done. Cannot wait for the next season, but you got to watch Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Well, I'm in. Have you watched? I haven't. I felt that Ozark was brilliant, but a bit of a lot of references or a lot of borrowing from Breaking Bad, which I see as just on the pantheon. And if Ted Lasso is anywhere in this family of greatness, I'm in. I'll start that in a week or two.
I do love documentaries. I'd actually love to be a part of something like that down the road, producing or in it, or I don't know how it would go. I think Bob and Mike would have an unbelievable documentary, and my idea would be like The Last Dance. Did y'all watch that?
Of course, the Jordan. We didn't watch it live because we're always doing these shows on Sunday nights.
I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, I love the style that they did it, and all those 30 for 30 ESPN documentaries. I love documentaries. Like I said, I love interviews. And so The Last Dance is up there. Favorite movie, I'm going to give you a couple. Hoosiers.
Oh, really?
Hoosiers, basketball.
Yeah.
One of my loves, basketball. Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, like that.
That is often on the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption. And there's a great movie with Joe Pesci, old movie called With Honors.
With honors.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Didn't he play a homeless guy in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and he almost looked like the Walt Whitman statue, the way he looked in that one. That was a great film.
And he was brilliant, and he loved to teach people, and people wouldn't listen to him. But he had some great insight and different ways of saying things to get people to learn and be successful, which is kind of what I've strived for. So those are up there that I can recall. I can recall right now for sure.
Good ones.
Well,
great answers. Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. What do you like? Are you a breakfast guy, lunch guy, dinner guy? All of them?
I haven't been doing as much breakfast because I've been doing that intermittent fasting, which is tricky. But I'm going to say my favorite meal, thanks to my mom, the French toast and poached eggs and cinnamon toast, it would definitely be breakfast.
Cracky.
Yeah.
I love breakfast. You invite me to a breakfast, I'm there.
Over at Kaliko's house anytime.
Yep. Kaliko or Jeff. Yep. Either one. We're going over there. We're going to have a good breakfast. So at dinner
For
time.
dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's nothing better than that. Do you
In fact, some amazing conversations and connecting time with Bob and Mike and I have been at Waffle House.
Wow.
We love Waffle House.
Really? The Waffle
No
House?
lie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who doesn't like
covered, baby?
Right. Who doesn't like the Waffle House, right? Everybody likes Waffle House.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
All right. Now, speaking of food, all right, we're going to have a little soiree at the Phil Farmer House. And who would you, well, we know we're invited, and a few other friends. Who would you like to invite out for this soiree that you would say? It could be anybody from history. It can be anybody. We've had some really interesting guests.
So dinner for us, but dinner for four.
Yes.
4 guests from any discipline, any era, any genre.
Right.
Dinner for 4.
Or more, at least, yeah.
I got it. Okay. One idea that I have that I would like to do at some point, and it's a goal of mine, is I want to have on a stage with obviously an audience, and it can be streaming as well, but I'm the moderator, and an hour and a half, hopefully 2 hours, but I have all champions up there.
Oh, okay.
So I have Dirk, I have Bob and Mike.
Yep.
I have, Jordan. I have, Sidney Crosby, from all kind of walks of life and sports, and maybe even from business. And I'm able to ask them questions, and not just for me to get the answers or the audience, but for them to hear it. My buddy Trevor Daly, who's, won back-to-back Stanley Cup for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I always said, man, I'd love for you to be on a stage. And I asked, how did you handle the pressure? How was it growing up? But I want Bob and Mike to hear that. And then I want Dirk to hear what Sidney Crosby did. And then I want Jordan to hear what Jeter did. To me, that is a situation and is a time where I would be blown away. So I would kind of probably copy that for dinner.
Yeah.
And I would say I would bring Phil Jackson. Man, that's a good one.
Dr. Phil? How about Dr. Phil? You got a lot of Phils going right now.
Yeah.
Phil Farmer, Phil
Jackson. Might get confused with the name, but I would probably bring Roger.
Fed. Okay.
Bring Fed. Yeah, I've met him, but I would love to kind of dig deep on questions and have that more intimate time. I would Man, that's good. That is.
I told you, we are substantive people right here.
I'm just going to go off the cuff. Maybe Fleetwood Mac.
The whole band.
Yeah.
What a conversation, because he dated her and she dated. Yeah.
Everybody dated everybody.
Yeah,
That'd
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, that's
That's a great dinner party right there. I like
That's
that.
pretty good. Yeah, and of course you guys.
Well,
you
thank
guys
Well, yeah,
know.
we're always we knew that. So that's a given.
Yeah, and got to invite my mom.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Mom, dad, anybody like that, relatives, they can all come too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what are we serving? Are we serving French toast?
Yeah, we're serving French toast and maybe some crepes with bacon extra crispy.
Oh yes,
You get the bacon extra crispy.
extra crispy, right?
But yeah, I'd probably go back in time as well and try to find. Maybe the first female tennis player that I don't know, that started playing or and be able to pick their brain and be in the conversation and how different it is. And, maybe, I know Billie Jean King is still with us, but something like that, like Billie Jean King that revolutionized the sport and the game. And even going back before her, maybe who she was, looked up to and people before them even. So probably somebody like that.
Somebody like Althea Gibson, or even going way back is somebody like Mary Outerbridge, who is credited for bringing tennis stateside to New Jersey. I think there's even a bridge named after her in New York.
I want to invite Francois Durr and how she got the finger behind that racket.
She hit a backhand with a forehand grip and the finger up, so her wrist was like that, hitting the pro tennis top 10 in the world.
Right, with the finger.
And probably like a famous engineer. I don't care if it's man or woman. I am way by engineering. Like, how did that tall skyscraper, how in the world do you build that? And I know we have machines, but how do we put that all together? And
check the Smithsonian channel out, because they do exactly what you're talking about, and it's fascinating. They'll do usually 2 or 3 segments on different places I've never seen, and it's really cool. You've hit a really interesting point right there.
You really have, and I love your idea about engineering, and I love the idea of mixing genres and eras. For me, it would be Nikola Tesla and Djokovic at the same table. Not just because they look alike, but they think alike, right? Same language.
Yeah, and to me, just getting the secret sauce, getting like the tips, the things you don't tell anybody, but you're gonna, Roger's gonna tell Dirk on that stage or at that dinner, and we're gonna get to hear it, and we just sit back and listen.
Amazing.
Novak, do you have any secret sauce for this conversation?
On the court as well as off the court. I don't have a lot of fans, but I'm very proud to have Philip here with us. And I would love to talk to Nikola Tesla also, because, it's like looking in a mirror, really. It's tremendous honor to be here. So thank you, Philip.
Man. You got that talent, baby.
He does, yeah. Well, maybe, what about Nick Kyrgios? Would you invite Nick Kyrgios? Nick, would you like to be invited?
Yeah, why not? Hey, we're all wired different, and I don't mind, people that are that think about things different and act different and do things different, and as long as it's respectful, I'm in. But,
mate, what kind of question is that? I mean, you call yourself a journalist, Craig. Piss off. Next question.
There you go.
See right there, he's got him down right there. East Coast, West Coast. East Coast, West Coast. Phil Farmer. Are you an East Coast guy, West Coast guy? Of the U.S.
I'm going to say West Coast.
West. California,
what part?
Oregon,
High,
Washington.
low?
What do you like?
Yeah, we're on the coast, are we?
I would say California. I just love every time I'm there. The weather's, Palm Springs. Can I be specific?
Yeah. No, that's what we want to be real specific. That's what I'm getting there. I'm dialing in.
Yeah, just the climate and the year-round weather, and I'd probably be dialed in.
Yep.
Be dialed into that.
Are you a mountains or beach guy, or both? Mountains, beach. If you're in Palm Springs, you got both, kind of.
You guys ready for this? I'll be 47 in June.
Oh, happy birthday! 3-4 months.
Yep, and I've never been snow skiing in my life. I've never been on a mountain with snow, like
Really?
or a lift, or seen any of that
Wow.
live.
Okay.
Incredible.
I've never tried it. So I'm definitely a beach guy. You know, we got married on the beach, overlooking the ocean, which was cool. And my dad has a timeshare in Puerto Vallarta,
West Coast.
so we visit that quite a bit. But yeah, I'm a beach guy, but I would like to try the mountains and do a little hiking, a little skiing for sure.
I bet you'd be great at skiing.
Boy, I can't imagine it. I would have thought you'd ventured up to Colorado, Utah, New
I'm
Mexico.
afraid of heights. That's another thing about me. I'm petrified of heights.
No kidding, really?
Oh yeah, bad. I'm bad. Yeah.
So like going up, on the Needle at Vegas, you wouldn't do that ride, the amusement park ride up there? Nope, no way.
You'd have to, that'd have to be a serious bet there on the line. But yeah, roller coasters were tough for me growing up. Yeah, man, it's a tough one for me. So hopefully, I've been told the lift is pretty safe as you go up.
Of course.
It's not too bad. Yeah, those are.
I do want to try it. I do want to try it. I'll get through it.
I think you could do it. Sunrise, sunset. Are you a morning guy, night owl?
Sunrise.
Really?
Excuse me. No. I said no. Sunset.
Sunset. Okay.
Sunset. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely a night owl, and love finishing the day and being out there and just being able to take that in with friends or family or loved ones, and you're just watching the sun go down. So 100% sunset.
Nick Smith wants to comment. He says, dude, me and you will go snowboarding.
There we go.
So Nick Smith is giving you an opportunity to go with him to someplace of choice, I guess.
I'm in, Nick. I'm in. Let's book it. And, we're going to have a good time we might as well turn that into a road trip with as many stories as him and I have and laughs. But that would be a good guy to go with because he's a great athlete and he could give me some great pointers for sure.
Favorite season? Are you a summer, fall, winter, spring? What season do you like?
Love the spring. Love the spring. Love the, probably because I'm, in Texas, I think it's, you get the nicer weather and, it's enjoyable outside, sitting on a patio or kind of the nicest tennis weather. And, sometimes I'd like the summertime, but sometimes because obviously my life's been tennis, you get some brutal, humid, Florida times, or you get Texas July heat or whatever. But I would probably say I just like the spring in general.
Coming in right now, what we're coming in right now, because the first day of spring is yesterday, I believe. The Saturday wasn't Saturday the first day of spring.
And man, wasn't it beautiful?
Oh,
gorgeous!
Yeah. We've had some really nice days. Favorite holiday? What's your holiday choice?
Oh man, good one. I love Christmas.
Yeah.
Love Christmas and family and it's even turned into now I invite, friends that maybe don't have anything that night to go to or the next day or whatever. Hey, come join us. I love having people together and celebrating the time together and it's a great time of year and good feeling for me, good memories for me as well.
Are you the colder type Christmas, or like I know you've been in Australia during probably that time frame? Are you the warmer? Are you in the white Christmas like we think of traditional Christmas here in the northern hemisphere, or do you like more the?
Normally, I'm not a cold weather person. I like the heat. I'll take heat all day, but it is nice to mix it up and to wake up and there's snow, and so I would probably, if I had to choose one, I would definitely choose cold weather.
Yeah. What do you like to do in your spare time when you have spare moment?
Well, I eat a ton of sushi. I'm a foodie. Mm-hmm. So love concerts, as we talked about, and pretty simple in terms of I really enjoy being out with friends, family, my wife, whoever. I love the connectivity and we as humans, I feel like we get around each other, we can sharpen each other and make each other better. And I love a good laugh. So I love getting together and making people laugh, or at least trying to. And so, that's probably a couple things I like doing. I do love traveling with my wife. We've gone to some really cool spots in Mexico and gone to some great friends' weddings, kind of in the U.S. as well. So wherever it is, it's fun to travel with her and experience that. So
we're going to get you up on
and now pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball. Right. Yeah, pickleball is going to be fun. I can see you being a real pickleball player. Yeah.
I love it.
I can see him doing that. And then also skiing as well. We're going to get him up on the ski slopes up there.
Yeah.
Snowboarding, skiing, pickleball.
Right. Might have to get him up to Park City with our buddy Warren Pretorius. So,
he's coming up on the show.
You know
soon.
Warren, don't you? I'm sure you know Warren. Craig's buddy.
Yeah. No, definitely know the name. And, yeah, that'd be awesome.
He's a good Weber State guy, and he lives in Park City, so that's one of the capitals of skiing. I'm sure we can make the arrangements to make that happen right there. That's not a bad place.
All right. Thank you.
Third set, third round, right here. All right, we're going back to tennis. Now we're going to shift back. We got a few more questions, then we'll call it an evening because we've already gone 2:34 with you at the moment.
Almost, yeah.
This is fun. This is great, guys.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Let's go another 5 hours.
Yeah,
wow,
awesome.
no, we appreciate you. First racket. Do you still own your first racket?
I still have it somewhere. I'm going to give you two famous ones
Okay.
That I remember. I'll give you a couple I remember real quick. But the first one was the Jack Kramer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember my first graphite racket, the Graphite Edge.
Oh,
yeah.
the head edge,
really?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And and I can't forget. I gotta mention my one of my mentors. I love so much that as a adult 5-0 player back in that day when I was 15, 16, 17, 18. Carter Scott is his name, and he was the club champ, and he would play me sets all the time. I could never beat him. And finally, as I got a little bit older, I did. But he introduced me to the Spalding Yellow Taxi.
Oh, I remember the Taxi. It had the black and white with a lot of yellow. It was like 1990 or so, or 89.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, I forgot about that.
That's a beauty. I thought for sure he'd say Wilson Pro Staff Original Edberg, which I'm sure was in your bag at some point.
Oh yeah. I had the. That's my favorite racket. Is that classic original Edberg Pro Staff 6.1 or whatever.
Beauty. Yeah. I think they called it 6.0. And when you said Kramer, I gotta go back to that. Was that the wood autograph with the red crown, or the brown diamonds, the Jack Kramer Pro Staff?
The Pro Staff. Hold on, I got to console with my wife.
Oh,
here.
good.
You plug this in.
Plug it.
Uh-oh.
Technical.
Uh-oh. He's about to go off. You were probably here. Probably going a little long.
I'm just regrouping here to finish this up. Sorry, guys.
Oh, good.
Okay,
good.
No. You need a little more juice probably in the old
I
laptop.
got it. We're good to go.
There,
solid.
we heard that noise.
Okay, so ask me that last question.
Oh,
again.
so when you said Wilson Jack Kramer, was it the Kramer autograph, or was it the Kramer Pro Staff with the brown diamonds,
yeah.
which McEnroe kind of made famous?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It was the slightly later one.
Yeah, it was the diamond.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I had to have the grip shaved down because it was too big.
You were a little kid. Yeah, you're a lot younger than us. I used that racket too, and before that, the autograph. But I thought, well, he's a bit younger. I bet it's the Pro Staff.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, the Spalding Taxi. I love that.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
One Christmas, I want to say I was 12. You know how I like to be different. I ordered, and it was a black racket, the Yvonne Lendl Adidas. I still have it.
Oh, wow. Really?
It was awesome. Nick Smith probably remembers that one. We had some battles, but great racket. And it's cool. I try to keep all my old rackets that I used, and even my players that I coached, I would always try to get one of theirs. So I have a collection that I need to kind of put up one day. It's pretty cool.
I bet you have some
awesome.
cool rackets. Do you have some that Mike and Bob like
I
Grand
do.
Slam?
I have a bunch of theirs. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really cool. All right, indoor tennis or outdoor tennis? What do you like? Are you an indoor guy?
Indoor.
Indoor. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben Tree.
That's right. We're here.
Those are
Courts like this with your serve and volley.
Oh yeah, he's won the late night a couple of times.
Balcony looking both sides. Come on.
Yes,
Awesome.
and he's a champion of the late night a few times. We do a tournament in January. He's won a sweatshirt or two.
Me and Paints. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
Andrew.
Most embarrassing moment in tennis. And it can be playing or maybe even coaching. Do you have an embarrassing moment besides taking money off of Andre?
Man. I can't believe I'm going to tell this story.
All right. It's not going anywhere. Trust us.
This is what Craig does. He gets people to peel the onion back a bit.
Right.
Oh, this is painful, but it's embarrassing.
Okay.
So, I'm a sophomore at OU, and we're pretty good. We're like top 25 in the country. We're playing Kansas, our rival, who was really good. They were like top 10, top 12. And I'm playing line 5, and I beat the guy in Kansas. Now we're playing at OU, and I'm up, and the little bleachers in between courts were set up, and my mom was there, and my mom's mom, I called her Nana, who was my biggest fan. She went to every one of my tournaments. If I lost, as a little kid, I'd crying on the court. She'd be the one. She's the only one that could come get me. She would take me golfing with all my buddies at Los Rios. I mean, she was amazing, amazing woman. And she came to OU to watch. And I lost the lead and lost the first set in the breaker. And I went to crush, hit the ball in the net, and I shanked it, and it hit her in the head.
Unbelievable.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And I go over, I'm completely embarrassed. Yeah. And my mom's there, and I go over there, and she could tell she was in pain. And I go, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't mean to. She goes, oh, I know you didn't. She goes, honey, I love you. I just want you to win.
Wow.
But it was, that was probably my most what in the,
Felt that big about that?
Oh yeah. It's hard to top that. So
hey, you were mortified. It was 6-7. What happened in the next 2 sets?
Oh, I think I lost 6-0 or 6-1, in about 12 minutes. I was done.
You were checked out.
Yeah. It would have been great if it was some heroic story.
Yeah.
I handed her the winning, ball, match point ball, but no, I lost.
Well, thanks for telling that story, and God bless your Nana. That's great advice from her. Right. And
we can flush that. We can flush that one out.
Yeah, we just flush it.
We'll just flush it.
That. The other one is my freshman year. We talked about Big 8 earlier. It was in Kansas City, and there was a layover, and I actually got the gates mixed up because there was 2 cities on one gate, and I looked at the other one accidentally. And I'm on the phone with my mom because she was meeting us there. I literally missed my flight with the team to the Big 8. Luckily, I caught the next one, and we didn't play till later that next day. But yeah.
You're just walking around there we go. No, that's not
embarrassing college stories. But
yeah. Funny stuff. Favorite tournament. Now we're getting to the one, we're circling back. What's your favorite tournament? And you've been to all of them. I know you've been to every one of them. Is Monte Carlo, is the country club, is that the best venue in the world? Or Wimbledon, the Australian Open, or maybe Indian Wells, Miami? You've been to all of them. I know that.
Yeah. Here, I'll do this for you guys. Okay. I would say
or top 5, top 3, maybe like that.
I'm gonna do this. My favorite tour level that's not a Slam or a Masters is Acapulco.
Oh, really?
Just
wow.
Finished.
It was just on.
Yeah, last night. Yeah.
Interesting.
Unbelievable venue. The hotel is right next door. Mm-hmm. There's the ocean.
Yep.
Bob and Mike won it. Kathy Bryan was there with us. She never traveled. She saw them win it. We got on. There was only 2 jet skis to celebrate after. So Kathy got on with me, and Bob got on with Mike, I think, and we rode out and celebrated. It was cool. So that's one of my favorite tournaments of that level. I would say Masters, Palm Springs is hard to beat.
Yeah.
Indian Wells, hard to beat.
Yep.
And then I would say my favorite Slam is it's hard to beat the French when that's where it all started for me. The first. I would say my favorite, one of my favorite places to travel to, that's a Slam besides the tournament, is Australia, Melbourne. And Craig, I know you've been there. Yeah. Have you been there as well?
I haven't. That's the one Slam I haven't been to. I've been to all of them, and one day Oz. For sure.
It's a long way to get there, but it's worth it. The people there are amazing. The scenery. I mean, Craig, you know it. It's
Melbourne's my favorite city.
Yeah, you've been twice.
Yeah, I love Melbourne. I mean,
so I would say the French Open is my favorite slam as a tournament because the memory. But then I would say, man, beginning of the year, you're pumped, and it's so beautiful. It's summer there. You're escaping winter here, and just I had an interesting track record there. I went there 3 times. 04, 05, and 17 with Bob and Mike. Went there with them 3 times, lost all 3 in the final.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got to the final every time I was there with them, but lost all 3 to great teams. But it's still my favorite. Like Craig said, it's one of my favorite cities.
Nothing better than Federation Square next to the Yarra River, watching some tennis on the big screen there. I mean, I have an unbelievable memory one night just sitting there. It was about 75, 80 degrees, absolutely unbelievable. Thousands of people sitting there watching. I can't remember who we were watching, but it was just unbelievable. And I know you've been through Fed Square, and you probably were staying at the Crown. Did you all stay at the Crown Hotel?
We did, yeah. That was nice. Yeah.
Boy, that's
and I'll add on to that.
Yeah,
please.
My favorite scenario or setting at a tournament, another category, I'd have to say U.S. Open night match.
Yes.
Yeah. Karina played the year I coached her in her comeback. She played Serena when Serena had the cat suit.
Yes. Ooh.
And it was on Arthur Ashe at night.
Yes.
Was that 02? Was that 02 or 3? No, it was a little later.
No, it was definitely not. It was 2.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Sounds right. That was the year Pete won the singles and Serena had that catsuit. Yeah.
Yeah, not a good one.
So that's in terms of a setting or scenario.
No.
Man, U.S. Open night match.
Well, when they get going up there, that's a rocking place. That
it's awesome.
That
the energy's just electric.
The best.
Do you like to watch tennis on TV? Are you a fan? Will you watch an occasional match every now and then?
I do. I've always enjoyed watching it. I probably enjoyed it more earlier than I do now, probably just because I've seen, just you go on and you've hit more tennis balls, you've fed more, you've coached more. And so now I, whether it's basketball or pickleball or, some movies or whatever, I have some other interest. But if it's on, I'll watch it. I love the rivalries now.
Yeah.
I loved watching tennis as a kid growing up, but now I love the rivalries. I love if Djokovic, Federer playing, or Djokovic, Nadal, or Fed, whatever, Nadal. Oh, man. I love the rivalry and love watching it.
Can you turn your mind off? Can Coach Philly turn the mind off and just watch, or do you have to analyze what they're doing?
I think I can. I try to. But, the mind still takes over and the coach and me. But I can sit back and just kind of watch too, because I feel like you learn a lot from that lens as well.
Sure.
Just like I became a better player, maybe not as a fit player after college or after after playing for myself, but I became a better player when I started coaching without even training. And I think you guys can probably relate to that, right?
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
It's amazing how much better, and even talking to all-American great player, won a pro tournament in doubles, Dane Webb. We talk about it like he's like, man, I hit the ball unbelievable now because you kind of let the guard down. You don't have as much, like, oh, if I lose this point, who cares, right? Your flush it ability is much easier, and so it is nice to sit back and just kind of watch it from a different lens. So,
favorite player? Who's your favorite tennis player of all time?
Oh, man. I would have to say Edberg / Federer. Mm-hmm. I would say Edberg has the lead on that by a little bit.
Yeah,
but
slight margin.
Just loved how they carried themselves on the court. This from the sportsmanship to the calmness to still the fight, the fire, the competitive drive. I love the slice backhand and the looking to get in, the all around game, the serve and volley, just the way they structured and looked to win points. I'd have to say those two guys for sure.
Have you ever met Stefan?
I have.
Have you? Okay. Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to have any lengthy conversations, but I did, say hi and literally those are two of the nicest guys. And I talk about it all the time. Who are the nicest guys on the tour? And I said, I'll give you 5 right now. Stefan Edberg, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Bob and Mike.
Awesome.
You really don't get nicer than those 5 guys.
Yeah.
In my experience, my opinion. They'll say hi to anybody, and if anybody's walking down the hall, I don't care if you're a trainer, a hitting partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a coach, a family member, a fan. If they say hi, if the fan or any of those say hi to Roger, Federer, Edberg, any of those, the Bryans, they'll say it right back and look you in the eyes every time. Nadal,
interesting.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about all of them like that.
Yeah.
They're just really gentlemen, just really great guys.
And genuine, too. They're not just saying hi.
Right.
It's from here, yeah.
Yeah, and it's important. And the key is it's important to them.
Yep.
It's important that they make you feel good, and that it's important to be kind, and it's important to give back, and it's important to reply to your question and give you the autograph. And not every time you can. Sometimes you're on a time crunch or whatever, but all those, in my opinion, will always take the time to say hi or to give an autograph or a picture or to at least be kind, because it's important to them.
I always loved Fed's line, which is what you just said. He said, it's nice to be important, but it's very important to be nice.
Yeah.
And then for Edberg, the thing I always took was whether he hit the most amazing volley or he just got burnt down the line, there was that little hop after the point, and it was just mentally and physically amazing, strong, stoic.
Yeah.
And
believe me, I copied that.
Oh, you had it down?
I probably look dumb doing it.
I know I look like an idiot doing it, but I definitely copied that. I love that.
But who cares? If Edberg did it, I do it.
That's it. That's it.
All right. If and when you all have kids, you and Nat, do you want them to play tennis?
That's a good question. I don't know if I know that answer. I think my answer is if they're passionate about it and they're driven to work hard and take the time and to invest in that, then I think we're going to be all in. I'll be all in.
Yeah.
What'll be interesting is the coaching aspect with her and I, and in terms of how involved I am and do I want to do that, and the parent-coach relationship that I'm pretty familiar with from all the years. But listen, at the end of the day, I think my hope would be that whatever that they are passionate about and that they love doing and spending the time doing that, and then hopefully they have, God-given talent, and then you work hard and all that kind of combines together for a nice puzzle, then I'm all on board and we'll support it.
Yeah.
So sure. I mean, if it happens, great. And if not, I'm good.
Yeah.
I feel good about the God-given thing. You two are good athletes, tall, strong, fit. I feel good about the perspective too.
Hopefully they take after my wife more, but it'll be interesting to see. That's for sure.
I can't wait.
Who's the family champ right now? Is she the family champ? Because she's a darn good player.
Well, I won't give you the outcome or scores of the few baseline games that we've played, but let's just say that I'm going to give her the champ just because she's cool.
Right.
She's the best. But
she's pretty darn solid.
Yeah.
But if we're serving and returning and playing a real set, my money's on Philly.
Yeah, that lefty serve out wide, that slice out wide.
With this thing,
It comes in just like Edberg and volleys to the deuce court, just like that.
And then the little hop.
And the hop as he turns around.
Even if they know it's coming, I'm still doing it.
I'm doing it, baby.
I have an idea of what this sport is. If you wouldn't have played tennis, what sport would you like to have played? Or multiple sports? I think you answered it early on, but I don't know. I want to go back. I want to circle back.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that could compete. And obviously, I coached a lot of doubles, and tennis is considered individual sport because it's singles. But I love team sports, man. I would say basketball.
Yeah.
And I would say right behind that, and pickleball's coming close, but I would say ping pong.
Really?
Ping pong, table tennis.
Really?
Oh, man.
Yeah, great game.
Wow. Are you the Forrest Gump of Plano East?
I'm pretty good. My dad and I would play tennis-style ping pong.
Really?
Oh, with this kind of serve?
Yes.
Oh, everything. Serve volley, everything.
Yeah. Really? You could come in and rush and crush,
man.
huh?
Oh, we play it. we play it tennis style. So I'd probably say, because of memories with my dad playing, I'd say ping pong and then basketball.
Yeah, cool. All right, last two questions. All right, we got two more. All right, we're rounding the turn on 4 here. If you wouldn't have been involved in sports, what would you be doing now? What would Coach Philly be doing now if you weren't involved in sports in some way, shape, form, or fashion? I mean, did you what degree did you get at OU? Did you get a business degree, or were you?
Yeah, I did. I got a business degree, business communication degree, and a minor in sociology. If I could have my pick, man, let me just say right now, I'm loving the multifamily investing platform, the consulting I'm doing, and the guy I'm doing it with. I'm really intrigued by it and love the opportunity it presents. And obviously putting roofs and giving people opportunity to have a place to live. That, can afford that option. And the opportunity Texas brings in the next 10 years, I'm pretty stoked about.
Yep.
If I could have anything I want, what would I do? I think I would be a singer. I'd be a performer, either a comedian or a lead singer in a rockin' band.
Man, I can feel it. I can sense it, and you'd be great
100%.
at it.
Yeah, one of those two, and probably the rock band because I love music. But a comedian, doing stand up and being able to be successful at it, I think I could dig that too.
I think we've got a future in my 10 improv classes in the 90s. I can feel that you have a future in this, pal.
I love it, man. And again, remember, I'm creative with some weird stuff. So.
Yeah.
I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. You remember that song?
That's right.
I can see
That's
Phil.
right.
All right, last question. This is it. All right, the creme de la creme. We always like to end with this question because it's a far-reaching question. All right, so you're the commissioner of the great game. You've been entrusted to the great game. Is there any change or changes you might make, or do you like it the way it is? Phil Farmer.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're the one with
the big picture guy.
The microphone.
Yes.
And we want you to be the commissioner of tennis.
You've seen it from a lot of different angles too.
Yeah.
Not player on the tour side, amateur side. You've seen a lot of different aspects of the game. Is there anything that you would alter maybe, or would you add, or just nope? I like it the way it is.
Man, when it comes to that, I'm not real big, believe it or not, on change. But I would probably go back and, like, for doubles, take out the 10-point breaker and let them play it out.
Full third.
Okay.
I would probably. I love the final sets, playing it out. I understand, like at Wimbledon, and you get a match like Isner or certain guys, and now they're tapped for the next round. I understand that part of it, but I just love the drama and knowing that you don't know when it'll end, who's going to break, and then capitalize on it and hold. Whereas a breaker, it's going to end.
Yeah.
So I would probably say that. A fun thing that I've seen in college tennis, and I don't mind it, I kind of like playing the lets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of adds a little spice to it. And maybe in doubles, if it hits the let on and goes in the box on your partner's side, because it's a let and it went in, you can jump over and play it if you want. Anybody could play it.
Spicy rule change.
There we go.
That's fun. I like that.
I like that. Never heard that before.
Yeah.
Yep. And the only thing, I'm not sure what I would do, but to get the game, we've talked a lot about Edberg.
Yes.
And, even though the athletes now, the movement, Djokovic doing the splits to get a ball out there, the power, the big forehand, a lot of that's flashy and cool. But going back to Edberg in the 80s and all that, I felt like we got to see more creativity and more points, which is probably why I love Federer now, even to this day. And so I would like to see, I don't know if it's technology or a ball or surface, and I know they try, but I would just like to see the game not get too fast where it's too quick, the points. It's just over. I want to see structure, building the points, some patience. I do like the power here and there, but I just don't want it to be all, a big serve. And if you get the serve in, then the likelihood they're not going to be able to return it.
Yeah, I get such a buzz when I see a little bit of the cat and mouse.
Yeah.
And not just a long point, but a long point with variety
some
and texture.
I knew he was going to say texture. He loves that word texture, Phil.
Agreed. I like it too. And I don't know how you get that. I don't know how you get that done. But that would probably be a goal of mine or a focus of mine if I was in that position, to somehow make sure the game doesn't get away from us. And it's too much about power. Like in NBA, it became all about dunks and
above the rim.
Man, Sean Kemp and Michael Jordan and crushing it. And then interesting now, like, hey, we need 3-point shooters. It's
outside
about 3 points now. So I kind of like how that's changed a little bit. And maybe it goes back to the big man. And I do see players like Fed and Nadal trying to shorten the points and elongate their careers by getting to the net more.
Even Djokovic seems like he's shortening some points.
So I do like that about the game right now. But my fear is if the technology and the athlete and the ball and everything gets too fast to where you physically can't get to the net. It's too difficult. I hope we don't ever get there, because I think the net play and the transition part of tennis is fascinating and very creative and gives us a lot of texture.
Right. I got one other thought just thinking about this.
Tell it.
Davis Cup. Do you like the new Davis Cup format, or do you like the old? Where you go from country to country as opposed to being in one place for a period of time, for a couple of weeks? Or do you like that travel, that inter-world travel?
To make that decision, I mean, I'm going to give you an answer, but I would probably want to participate like I did before in the new format. I haven't really, to be honest with you, watched it or on TV, and obviously I haven't experienced that yet as a coach. But I would probably, my answer would be the old format. And the only thing I might do is maybe make it every 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
Or don't have it during the Olympic year.
I see. So 3 out of 4.
It's a grind for the players with the schedule they already have. Tennis is already a long year, and so I know that's tricky, which is why they changed it. But man, there's nothing like doing a week training camp, and you get ready for the weekend, and it starts Friday, and you're in Slovak Republic or you're in Sevilla, Spain. Man, that's pretty cool, and it's all about that country versus that other country. So I do like what they've done with the Laver Cup. I think that's really cool to see other players on the sideline cheering and coaching Nadal, coaching Fed, and going nuts. That's super, super cool.
Yeah, I like that.
But Davis Cup, I'd like to go back to the old format, but maybe alternate every 2 years or something.
I like that. Yeah, I could go with that. I just love the old Davis Cup. Not that I'm a tennis, old guy, get off my lawn. But I just think
we used to have a segment on the show called "Get Off My Lawn," and nobody did it as well as Craig. So if he tells you he's not an old man with the "Get Off My Lawn," he is lying. I just,
there's nothing like in the bullfighting ring in Seville, Spain. And then David Ferrer, he was in Barcelona, I think, in a bullfighting ring a couple of years after that. It was just a couple of years ago, and he was, Nadal and them. They were playing. Were they playing Croatia, maybe? They might have been playing Djokovic. They were playing one of the other European countries. And I remember watching that on a Sunday morning, and I thought, man, those people are going absolute bonkers.
Love it.
And they just Ferrar came through. David, in that last match, it was 2 matches each, and it was the last, match.
Rubber,
And it wasn't a dead rubber, it was a live one, and it was just spectacular tennis. And I mean, I think it went 5 sets, and I sat there and watched every minute of it. I mean, it was just great tennis.
There's nothing like it.
That's what I think that that's where you get fans of the game, and it doesn't really matter at that point.
Totally agree.
If it's or St. Louis, Johnny Mack playing.
Motson, 82, Motson Mack, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy.
7 hours, something like that, or Pete going down in Russia, getting cramped, and they had to pull him off the court after he won that match against, was it Kafelnikov?
There was a Chesney too. Chesnikov one,
yeah. So that kind of
was
stuff,
unreal.
I think those, you don't get those if you just play in one location. I mean, that's just me. I'm just, I like the every 2 years. I could do that, or every once.
I think for the players, you'd have to do that. Otherwise, it's just too physical. It's too much. Yeah. And they end up skipping it. But if you kind of entice them by saying, hey, you only have to worry about it every other year or every third year or whatever, something like that.
But the players really, didn't they consider it an honor? I mean, a lot of those guys just.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They do. It just became too hard to do it every year, back to back to back to back, and do it for 16 years.
Sure. Right.
With your other, so.
It's kind of like, Plano East playing Plano Senior, probably back in the day, the same.
That rivalry.
Right there.
A big rival.
That's
it.
Yeah.
Now you got like 10 schools.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Phil Farmer, what a delight. Yeah, we've gone 3 hours and 4 minutes with you right now.
Crazy. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you. I mean,
hey, at any time it flew by. It didn't barely felt like an hour. So no, I appreciate both of you guys. You guys are so great for tennis, and
thank you.
And by doing a podcast, you're getting it out to a lot more people and spreading the good news of this great sport and this great game that's done so much for all of us. And couldn't have happened to two nicer guys and two guys that if you're going to do it, you put everything into it and you do it the right way. And so, man, I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you guys as well, and also appreciative for having me on. Anytime, I'm here for you guys.
Well, you're so kind, Philip. Big thanks. That was a fun night. Thank you.
That was fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was.
Guys.
Yeah. So
we got to do a part 2 with you, and maybe you're a guest caller when we have Hans Hock, or Hans Hotch on the show in April at some point, right?
Oh yeah, now he's coming up. Yeah, so we'll get
because he'll have stories of playing Davis Cup for Mexico.
Yes.
And
He's got
can't
some
wait.
great stories,
and we'll ask him what it's like, because I've enjoyed watching you guys on a tennis court together, but we'll ask him what's it like to learn from Philip Farmer. So we'll get the other side. Awesome. So folks at home, stay tuned for that. Philip Farmer, we bid you a good night. Big thanks.
Good night, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phil. We appreciate it.
Good night, pal.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Good night.
Yeah.
Sleep well.
Well, great guest, great time. 3 hours. I mean, that was unbelievable. It went like 3 minutes.
It was quick, and folks at home, hope you enjoyed it too. And CB1, time for our dismount and a little music and preview of next week, man.
Yes. All right, so here we go. The great James Scott Campbell with the ending song right now. All right, everybody, thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 81 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week as we'll be talking with the Podcast Parlay. We're going to have a big parlay with Rick Eckloff, Nick Smith, Brothers on Tennis. We got Bryce, Isaac, and Chester all going to be in the...
I'm hearing it's only going to be 2 of them, but maybe it's 3. We'll see.
Well, they said 3 possibly.
Yeah.
So, but the producer, Chester.
Yep.
Everybody's got to have a Chester.
Yeah, you got to have a Chester.
Chester. I just love to say the word Chester right there. All right, so we're going to be doing that next Sunday night. We're going to have a big screen, have a lot of people up there on the screen, and just kind of going after it, like we did with the USPTA luminaries.
Definitely join us, and of course join us on Wednesday nights.
Yep.
We've got a fun one coming up. We'll have some. We'll fold in a few guests, but it's generally just Craig and me.
Yep.
Instagram, definitely join us for that.
Yeah, and that's on Tennis Shorts on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock,
That's
right?
it. Wednesday night, 8 Central, 9 Eastern.
All right, and lastly, be sure to tell a friend. Please tell friends. We like friends, don't we?
We like them. Yeah. Hopefully you hit the like button, subscribe, follow, and share, and spread the news. You know the drill. No need for a promo code. No need for anything. Just enjoy it, and thanks for being a nethead, everybody.
Thanks. And if you'd like a little chapeau, let us know. We might be able to spot these nice At the Net podcast hats out there, right?
We love giving them out. Thank you.
All right. Well, good night, everybody from Dallas, Texas, and that's the tennis news as it
seems to us.
Good night, everybody.